Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We're getting ready to jump into I've Got You Muted, fucker! Which I guess does the same thing. I muted me. Shit. How do I unmute? Yeah, so anyway, it's Legends of Tabletop. We're getting ready to jump into another COREthulu. It's not really a playtest anymore because it's out. It's published. You can find it on drive-thru. There's links in the show notes. Spread the love. Download a bunch of stuff. I don't know. It's free. Do whatever you want. But we are going to be playing, or hopefully finishing, Kevin's 50,000 watt blowtorch. So it's a scenario that he has written for Call of Cthulhu, so we're bending and shaping and putting round pegs in square holes, but it's cool. It's all the same stuff. But I'll kick it over to Kevin. He'll give us a recap, and we'll maybe not die because of a Shoggoth or whatever the fuck happened last time.
Yep. So it's not a Shoggoth, but we'll get to that in a minute. It is. So I think it's actually November 3rd, 1920. It started in November 2nd, 1920 in Pittsburgh while you were all at a speakeasy listening to the first ever, I guess, widely regarded as the first ever radio broadcast. And it was a broadcast of the presidential results from the Harding-Cox election. While you were listening to that broadcast, one of you, I forget which one was it, had some kind of adverse effect to it, that you had some kind of buzzing and humming in the back of your mind after listening to it. So no matter where you went, no matter what you're doing, there was always this kind of low hum that you always heard. So it is Travis that has that. Okay. So while you were listening to it, Travis had an adverse reaction to it. He kind of just shrugged it off a bit because of his other life, the way he lives life. So he was just assuming that was just part of some of the vices he has. The next day that you found out, or you heard or read, that some other people had reported the same kind of effect from this broadcast. So you took a trip out to a little rural area outside of Pittsburgh to meet someone who was in the press saying that he was also affected by this. And I'm trying to remember what his name was. It was Sobolewski. So you went to Sobolewski's farm to talk to him, William Sobolewski, because he said he was having the same kind of issue. But you did find out that he actually didn't listen to the broadcast. So he wasn't someone who had a radio and wasn't listening to it. While you were talking to him, you found out that his close neighbor, who he doesn't really get along with, named Nigel McGahey, was always bragging about his radio that he had, and that his father had worked for the company who was doing the broadcast. So you were going over to Nigel's place to talk to him. And once you got over to there, out of the front window, or out of the attic window, I think, of Nigel's house, this thing came flying out of the window, and that was kind of where we left off. But I'm trying to share my screen, and now it just froze up on me. I see you guys. I see you guys, but the screen's frozen on StreamYard. So hold on a minute. Yes, right, and the name.
While that's loading, I want to say that, like, saying you have the strongest radio back in the day, that's kind of an interesting flex for the 1920s.
So there is some kind of, there is a bit of, I guess not controversy, about who claims the first broadcast. I think this broadcast, the KDKA broadcast, classifies as the first commercial broadcast. It was a commercial radio station. So that's their kind of claim to fame. I think there were other maybe quote unquote broadcasts that did happen. But it's generally assumed that this is the first broadcast. Okay. I think everything froze up, but it's coming back. So while you guys were sitting there, over at Nigel McGahee's property. Something flew out of the attic window, and it looked like that. So hopefully you guys can see that.
Ew.
Okay, so it did pop up on the screen.
Sure did.
So if you want to maximize your screen, it'll be bigger on the screen.
Yes.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
He's a beautiful baby.
Yes and no, right? I mean,
You can see it, but you don't want to see it.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave that up for a second. So I think where you guys are at now, you're outside the house. I think, was it Travis that went up and knocked on the door?
I think I had stayed by the car. I remember.
Okay, there was
car,
one person by the car.
and I'm apparently paralyzed. I think I had failed the shock roll when we ended. I probably should have re-listened to the stream, but I have a note that says I'm paralyzed. So.
Yeah, so we did a psyche roll on that. I think one of you had an adverse effect. Was it Josephine? I thought someone was screaming and yelling. Oh, actually, that might be.
That was me, I think.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say, I think that is.
I think I was just like, what the fuck is this fucking thing?
So I think, so Hugh was screaming and yelling. Travis was frozen by the car. And I'm trying to remember, Josephine, if you held it together or not. I seem to think that held it together popped out in my mind from the last time.
Yeah, we can go with that. Fuck it, right?
Okay, let me stop that so I can get my screen up and get my stuff I need. So that should be stop sharing now for you guys. For the psyche roll, for the mechanic, I'm trying to remember if there is a duration for that.
So in combat, it's essentially from frame to frame until until you successfully make the check. So I'll be frozen until I can successfully do that. Same thing with Hugh. So whatever the DL for that check was, we have to beat that.
Okay, and I think we did set that up as a DL. Was it 3 or 4? I think the base for psyche was.
I want to say it was 4. It feels like.
I feel like it had to be at least 4, right? Because both of them failed.
Yeah, so I think 4 from the magic supplement, the psyche check it says DL4. So I think we did set that up as a DL4 for that. And that was for because there are the different levels for what you see and against, and I think we did set that up as a DL4. So in this frame, you're frozen, Hugh screaming and yelling, Josephine is fine. And so the after this frame, then Hugh and Travis should be able to roll against that 4 to then be able, if they beat the DL4, they should be able to then come out of those states that they are in, the screaming and yelling and the frozen.
Yeah, so we ended right at the check, so we just dropped into action frames. So we're picking up in the second frame of Jesse. I can't see what you're writing on a piece of paper.
I looked at that, Jesse, and I think I have the player sheets from the first one and the second one, and I think you picked the name for both. So let me double check. Yeah,
I'm telling Kevin that Joe is actually the character that I played from the first adventure with Babe Ruth.
So did you have a different name for that? Because I copied it over to the second sheet with the different names.
If it was,
it did. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea.
I mean,
and I can't find character sheets anywhere, and my emails are gone.
So
I'm perfectly okay playing the character, but I know continuity-wise, it'll blow John's mind when he goes to edit podcasts.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at it, and it does say Josephine Heron and occultist Jesse. God damn it! I don't know. I'm sure it's in an email thread somewhere.
So did you have
Yeah,
that
but
written down?
they're all automatic. They're all the thread it's in is so old, it's been automatically deleted from my trash.
How about we just call you Joe then? Is Joe all right? We'll just go
I'm
with
fine.
Joe.
I know my
Lunchpad.
last guy was like was like an engineer.
That's right. Yeah, you did say
So,
engineer.
but I'll swap characters back. That's fine.
Joe Sixpack, the engineer.
God damn it! Hold on, let me see.
Joe Lunchpail.
I'm ruining John. I know.
Yeah, you're fucking killing me. Because
I usually all my character sheets are usually in a box right here. And none of them made it in for some reason.
You know, I edited the first half of Bellyache too, and I don't remember what the hell your character's name
You're
was.
horrible.
Well, you played a dilettante, I think.
Yeah, and the first one, the occultist.
That was the first one. The second one, I was a professional.
Jesse Engineer.
I played I played a radio engineer. Oh wait. I think I found it. Electronics, research, science, persuade. I have his stats. I just don't have a
His
name. Which is fine. Who needs a name? A rose by any other name would sound as sweet. Would smell just as sweet. There we go.
It's funny. I have Kurt's name written on my character sheet, but I don't have yours.
I'm a vagary.
God damn it. Well, when everybody listens to this, just remember what Jesse's name was from the first campaign.
Yeah, just remember.
Okay, so then you got your correct stats then for the engineer.
I got my stats. Let's go with Bill. I'm Bill now.
Okay.
Yep. I'll change my name to Bill.
Bill Engineer. Unless
I have all of the other names written down.
I don't know how I copied and pasted the same for Jesse on both sheets. Okay, anyways.
There we go.
God damn it.
And scene.
Yeah. So Travis is frozen by the car. Hugh's screaming and yelling, and Bill is holding it together while this thing smashes out of the attic window of this house. So on this frame, I'm going to roll, and then everybody else. So that failure, is that considered the first frame then, John? Are we going to say that's the...
Yeah, that was the first frame. So the thing came out, we saw it, made the psyche roll. We moved to the next frame. It's like comic book frames.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. So when this thing comes out, all the different reactions that people have, you'll see this thing start to float down closer to you. I'm assuming you guys are maybe like about, maybe 20 feet apart. From where the car is to the door. It's not like you're not gonna park super far away from the house. You're gonna drive up to it. So you're not super far away. So Travis is over by the car. Hugh was up on near the doorstep. Then obviously when he heard this thing crash through, he kind of looked back and maybe walked back a bit to see it and then started screaming. But let's say Bill's kind of in between the two of you. So you're all kind of in the general area. You see this thing kind of start coming down. You hear kind of like a whistling noise emanating from this thing while it's coming down. And let's have everybody roll their actions now for the next while this thing comes down.
I got a 5 on psyche, so succeed.
Okay.
But I'm assuming like that's your action for the frame is that you're doing something else. So you're trying to shake yourself out of it and that sort of thing.
Okay. And so do we go for the same misses or hits for the roll? Do we do that the same for psyche then? So if it's one above or one below?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got a 6. The target was 4. So that means
I got a 5.
You got a 5. Okay.
Succeeded by 1.
So mark that down. That's an experience point. So yes, and something positive.
Nope, I only succeeded by 1. Only
Oh
by
yeah, you
rolling
nailed it.
is
You
a
nailed it
success.
precisely. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, you nailed it
yep.
precisely. Okay, so Hugh,
I rolled 2 6s.
2 6s.
Sweet. So he
So
got
the-
a yes and.
So you got a yes and an experience point. And Bill.
Can I give you the and?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Even though Hugh's a fun-loving guy and wants to get everybody high, he knows that being a drug dealer, there's some dangers that come with it. So he goes down to his socks and pulls out 2 switchblades and just kind of stands there just waiting for. I mean, he doesn't run away, but he's just like kind of slowly backing up with the switchblades, like waiting for some, like ready to either run or fight, whatever he has to do.
Okay. And Bill.
I rolled 2 2s.
Okay.
Well, but what were you doing, right? Because you had already succeeded on your psyche check, so you.
Oh, that's right. I'm
able
not.
to do
I'm like one of the ones that like wasn't locked down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So so in that case, I'm gonna like run to dive behind the car. And that gives me let's see. I rolled for grace to like run and to run.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me a 4.
Okay. And I would think for the difficulty level for that shouldn't be too hard, right? Because you don't have any effect on you. Running towards a car and diving behind it, I would say is let's say it's a challenging. So a 3. Obviously it would be easy normally, but you've got this weird thing, you're a bit shaken by looking at it. You didn't have any effect, but you did make it. So you rolled a 4, you said.
Yes.
So you've nailed it precisely. So you've dived behind the car. So the role of what this thing is, and I guess just for anybody who has read any kind of, Cthulhu stuff. So this is a flying polyp that's coming down. So John, we said everybody's done their roles. Now the flying polyp has done his roles. So if this is, he's going against his difficulty level for the action he's doing, right? He's not rolling against what your roles are.
So because Hugh and Travis were doing something else, their base to hit them is only 2, right? Because they're not actively defending, they're not actively attacking. There's so it's 2. If you want,
it's not like it's not an opposed roll of
right.
what your role is versus what this thing is. Okay.
Unfortunately, right? Because it's so I guess so. Jesse, let me ask you this, and I guess this is a shit show for editing already. But the way that we figured it out to be, it's the die roll plus cover plus. But if you're doing something else, by the rules, the base DL is 2.
It's 2. And then, I mean, if you have cover and everything like that, that will apply as well. So if you have partial cover, then you'll get your 2 plus 1. So that'll be a 3 for the DL.
But you're not taking the die roll though, right? Like it's a base.
Correct.
It's not your die roll. So
so
Kevin, if you're doing something else, then that's that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So if you wanted to say that either Hugh or Travis was, on the opposite side of the card to the polyp, then they may have cover. If not, it only needs to hit a 2 then.
A 2 because because you guys aren't attacking it, so it's not it's not
it's more, I think it's more so that so like the 2 of you are trying to kind of like mentally break yourself out of whatever's going. So it's not really necessarily that you're not attacking it or you're not being active against it, but more so that you are not being active in the situation right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
because I mean, even if you were like doing something else, like what Bill is doing right now of like diving behind the car and everything, technically he's being defensive, but he's still participating in the scene like actively, which means that he would have the roll would count, whereas you're not necessarily being active, which gives you the 2 instead of your roll.
Yeah, you don't have this situational awareness of what's going on.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. Yeah.
Yep. But your roll was only a 2 anyway, so fuck you.
I rolled a 4.
Oh, that's right. You re-roll. That's right. You rolled
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Because my grace is 3, but my psyche's only a 2, so I got that one extra little bump.
Yep.
All right. So Bill's behind the car. This thing comes down, and he rolled a 5. So if we're depending on, I would say that Travis is on. So if you're pulling
I was on the hood, like, if you take the shot, you know what I mean?
Okay, so you're not behind the car. You're not on the driver's side. Actually, I was picturing what the driver's side would be over here, so that probably doesn't. It's on a different side than what you. I was trying to see how you pulled up. So you're in front. Hugh was kind of standing there, so that would be a yes and. So when this thing comes down, everybody feels a giant push or gust of wind coming towards them, and you also hear that whistling sound. Obviously, Bill's behind the car. He may be popping up to see, but he just feels that. And for Travis and Hugh, I will say Travis gets pushed by this wind off the hood of the car, but he's not behind it, so he doesn't fall back to where Bill is. He'll fall to the other side. So that would be the positive for my roll, that you don't fall behind into cover.
Sure.
And I will say Hugh is just pushed back and kind of knocked back a bit.
Away from the car on the other side. So
exactly. Yeah, because he was closer up. He was closer up to the house. So yeah, he's pushed away from the car. So that would be the positive, that Travis doesn't have is pushed not in the cover. And Hugh's just kind of pushed back further away from the car.
Yep. And then there's no damage?
No, there's no damage. This one, it just pushed you back and made you fly back.
Yep.
And then you'll still hear the whistling noise. So this thing kind of comes down. It looks like it's coming close to the ground. It doesn't settle, and it starts moving towards you after that gust of the wind blows you guys back. How
big is it, right? Because it's hard to tell from the picture. I assume it's pretty big.
I would say
that's what she said.
It is. I'm trying to see if there is actually a chart. Let's say that it is about 7 feet tall and about 2 feet wide. So it's a bit man-shaped, other than it's just a weird setup. So it's not completely huge, but it is bigger than all of you by a foot or so, depending on how tall you are, a bit more. So it's not an overwhelming presence, but it is kind of it is a bit bigger than you and a bit wider than you. Yeah, so it's not like a big, huge house size kind of thing.
Does it have tongues or those tentacles?
There is tentacles coming out the sides, and that picture of it coming out the front was just the wind blowing out of it. So sure. It has kind of like a tentacle on the bottom that would kind of look like it was like a leg appendage, and then there's like 2 on one side and 1 on the other, which would be kind of like arm things. But they're short. They're not super long. They're kind of short outside on the sides of the body.
What's in the front of the house? Like, is there a window on either side of the door? Is there a porch with steps? Is there like a garden? Like, what does our situation look like? Because it's been like, a month and a half since we played.
So we'll say you guys pulled up, and it's obviously cleared out in front of the house. It's just like stone and gravel, whatever, when you're driving up to the house. The house itself has some steps up to it. It doesn't have like a full-on veranda porch, but it has like a little overhang over the front door. A couple steps up to the front door when Hugh was walking towards it. There's a window maybe on each side of the door on the ground floor, on that first floor. And then like the sloped roof. And then it looked like I said attic, but obviously this is kind of like a 1-level house. And then there's it's not a big living space, because it's a big pointed thing where that window was, where the thing kind of popped out of. Because I think you guys actually did go up and look into the window. At least Hugh did. He did look into the windows on the either side of the front door and didn't see anybody in there. And then that's when the thing popped out of. So the living area would be the bottom, and then like the attic has like just that one window. So 2 windows and a window with a door in the middle.
Okay. And I don't remember because I'm a horrible player and didn't re-listen to the thing. Did we check the door?
I don't remember what my name is.
Oh, wow. And you never posted it in the email thread either. So I know we knocked on the door, obviously, because the thing came out at that point, but we didn't check the door, to your recollection?
No, I think there was a knock on the door, and I think Hugh did kind of look in to either side. You know, there was a kitchen and things like that, and didn't see anybody. And then that's when the thing popped out of the window.
Okay, just so I can plan for actions then.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going into the next frame then?
Yeah. Yes, you're going into the next frame.
So I want to say Travis's training, kind of kicks in, and he's like, move, get in the house. And, I'm going to make a grace roll towards, either breaking down, getting to the front door and trying it. And if not that, then following frame, through the window.
Okay.
What are you guys doing? Are you following?
Mm-hmm. Now, was that
wait to see what your role is?
Yeah,
well, everything
I want to
happens
see if you
together,
die first.
Well, it doesn't work like that.
Sure does. I stand here and wait for you to die. Is it look like it? It popped out of the window, but does it look like it's aggressively coming at us?
It's settled down onto the ground. It's not lashing out at you with its kind of tentacle things, but you did feel that gust of wind that pushed you back.
Okay.
It's not moving towards you at the moment. It kind of settled down in the front, and then you guys got pushed back by that gust of wind coming from it.
Gotcha. And what were you doing, John, with your character?
So he just says, move. We got to get in the house, try to get cover, try to get away from, put a barrier between us. Yeah. Obviously, you don't have to do that, but that's like his mind says, get the fuck out of here.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm behind a car. I got a barrier.
All right. So
is there like a sizable tree branch or even like lumber or anything near me that I could grab?
How could we play this to a roll? So obviously he's on a farm. You would think there'd be like a woodshed on the side. Maybe not a tree, but a woodshed, because obviously heating and all that would be by a fireplace. So how can we do?
Yeah, I basically want something weapon-like, club, like just something big enough that I can swing at this thing just in case.
So how can we do this into a luck roll? Obviously, it's not a luck roll to see what's there.
Maybe an investigation or something.
Yeah, awareness investigation to be like, do I see a shed or a tool shed, a wood shed, and then run towards it, right? I mean,
well, let's say like on the side of the house, there's kind of that, it's kind of like a sloped, almost like a log store, right, where you have some stuff all stacked up with a not shed. It's just something on the side of the house. Mm-hmm. So I guess depending on your role, we'll see what's in that log store.
Sure. Let's see. Awareness would be what? Brains or psyche? One of those.
Yeah, I mean, you choose psyche. Maybe like you're not. It's up to you. I guess you could argue either one, right?
Well, I mean, if I'm gonna pick brains.
Yeah, do it. Do it up.
Yeah. I don't. I'm trying. Let me see.
Right, like brains is
awareness. Oh, brains are sight. It's either. Okay, so I'm going with brains.
Yep.
That's going to be a 6.
Okay, so
2 of them if that counts.
it explodes. You get to roll again.
Yay!
Not to confuse anybody. I'm joking. That does not explode. So I would say that's a yes and something positive. So I would say, if you're having a log store, the chances are you're going to have something there to split those logs. So since there's something, I was going to say, so if you want something positive, I would say there would be an axe there.
I got an axe.
So I would say let's say that's probably about about 10 or 15 feet away from you on the side of the house. You're behind the car. Go over to get it, so you can go ahead and run over and get that axe.
I do that.
So while that's your action, you're running to go over and do that. Travis is heading towards the door.
I got a 6.
Yes. So that would be let's say that's difficult, right? Because you're trying to run around this thing. And also the action is to see if the front door is open or if it's locked.
Yeah, he turns the door and hits it at the same time as he's running up the steps.
Yeah. So that's yes. And something positive. So I'm assuming your positive is the door's unlocked and you can get inside. You don't have to bash it down unless you have another positive you can think of.
No, that's perfect for me. I'm GTFO. He hits it, the door opens inwards. He, even falls on the floor or whatever, not expecting oh shit, it is open. Fuck.
All right. And Hugh.
I think I would. Now, I don't know in this game how we would do it. I would almost think I would hold my turn just to see if
he's Chris Pratt. He's got his hands out. He's got the low stands.
Exactly. Except for there's a big ugly motherfucker in front of me instead of a big dinosaur. I would probably hold my action just to see if Travis got in, because I don't want to be the guy that's I'll run with you, and then we both run into the door and fall down, just a couple of dumbasses and then the thing gets us and then we're dead because we both ran to the door or whatever. You could always kind of try to be basically in game terms be defensive instead of active. Yeah. And that's probably what I would do, because I've got my knives just kind of out to the side, almost Wolverine with his hands down waiting to strike or whatever, and I'm again, I think that's probably what he would do. Defensive stance, see if the thing gets me, and then if Travis gets through there, then I can just rush into there with him.
So go ahead and roll probably Grace then, and then you get a +2 because you're doing total defense sort of thing.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that right, Jesse?
I don't know. I'm checking that now.
Be might, since I'm doing a defense.
It's nope. Grace.
Grace
modified by fighting or weapon.
Okay. All right.
Depending on how you're defending yourself.
Yep. I don't really have anything for as far as a switchblade, so would it be a +1 to my roll?
So just having a weapon doesn't give you a bonus?
Yes. You have to be trained in it or whatever.
Well, so you would provide some sort of narrative, fictional, why is this firearm, why is this weapon, of a superior quality, right? So you'd be oh, I've got a samurai sword that was, Damascus steel and it's been folded, 10,000 times. So it's a +2, you pay your XP and you have the super special thing. So if you just have
a Japanese sword made with Spanish steel, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I've used these switchblades to cut my drugs. Does that help? I'll just
it's a +1 because it's covered in coke.
Exactly. No, I'll just go with straight Grace. That's fine. Holy shit! 3 6s, baby! Boom, boom, boom! I should get shouldn't get experience. I should get a special move where I cut the thing's head off and I leave.
So that is
holy smokes.
That is a yes. And so what would be? So you're taking a stance. What would be the positive for that? Something positive.
He doesn't get eaten.
Yeah, no kidding. I think
that's a bit macro. I think we're looking for more the micro.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think if I may, I think it would be I would be ready for anything then. So if the thing in the next round decides to take an attack on me, then I would have kind of an advantage because I'm ready and raring. Or if I decide to run and make it where Travis is going, maybe I get a little bit of a head start because all of a sudden I'm just ready to just rock and roll.
So let's tie this in. So that makes sense. And the flying polyps roll, he failed. So it's not moving closer to you guys, but it's closer to the ground. It hasn't settled, but you hear that whistling sound gets a lot more louder and intense. And it looked like from before, whenever you heard the whistling, then the gust of wind came out. This time you heard the whistling and there was no gust of wind to push you. And it looks like, this thing, kind of had like one big giant eye. So it saw Travis run to the door. So it kind of turned to look at Travis. Then it saw Bill, right? We said Bill run towards the log store to grab the axe. And then it's looking at you. So let's say this thing's kind of confused and it saw the three people scatter. You don't feel a gust of wind. And I guess, Hugh, to your positive, let's just say the last place it looked was not you. So it's kind of looking, it's still turning away, trying to look between Travis and Bill, and maybe it's not focused on you. So that'll give you the advantage for the next frame then, because it's not focusing on you on this time.
Cool.
Right, so yeah, there's no gust of wind come up. You hear that whistling sound that that prefaced the gust of wind before. You hear it, it gets a bit louder, but then nothing gets it, and the thing looks confused because it's the three of you kind of scattered to the different places. So it's it's kind of confused looking back and forth to you all.
All right, I'm going to throw this in because this is an easy spot to edit out. Jesse's name is Michael Francis.
We got it now.
Yep. Okay, continue.
It only took 42 minutes. We did it.
Yay! And I wrote it down.
Okay, so for the next frame, Travis goes through the door. It's open. He goes in. Hugh kind of sets himself. The thing's not looking at him. And then Michael heads to the log store and sees an axe and picks up the axe. So let's go to everybody's next actions.
Sorry, Michael. I am in the house with Travis. You're all.
I want to make an awareness in the house to see, like, is someone in the room? Is like, just,
Okay.
what do I see when I get in?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I got a 8.
Jesus Christ.
Kill
Yeah,
him.
I would say so. Yeah, so that's your role. So Hugh, your action is going to be going and running towards the house, right?
Correct.
Because Travis is already there. So why don't you go ahead and roll? I guess would it be? I guess just do a roll, right? This is the action in your frame.
Yeah.
Well, but it has to be based on something for you.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it would be Grace, right? Because he's running. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Ooh, not so good this time. Hugh, Joshi, only a 3 this time.
Okay, and then go ahead, Michael.
Michael's gonna I'm gonna run around to the back of the house, and I'm gonna look for like a cellar door or a back door or something like that, somewhere I can get into the house from kind of the opposite side of where this thing is.
Okay, so we're just gonna do another brains roll for that then. Because
sure.
You're running behind. You're not, you don't have to use Grace because the thing's out in the front. So you're not gonna have to, get away from it.
That's going to be another 6.
Because it could even be an awareness, right? As you're kind of like running down the side of the house, you're looking specifically, to try to find something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even like an open basement door, like window or something like that. Basically, any way for me to get into the house from the back.
Okay. That sounds good. So let's go in order. So Travis, you go in. You had a super duper success. So you're in. Go ahead.
I've got an and potentially. Yeah. So he gets in. There's nobody in the room, and there's like a shotgun over the fireplace, or a 30-06 or whatever. Guy's on a farm, right? Like it's a 410 shotgun or something for varmints and things like that.
So and I would say. That makes sense. You're out on a farm, right? So it's not surprising that the gun would be there. I wouldn't say that there's no one there.
Okay.
But the positive would be there's a gun. There's a gun sitting there.
Sure.
But you do see a body on the ground in the room, one side of it's kind of the kitchen. The other side of it's kind of like a sitting area with a table and some chair, like a chair. And then in the back, there's some kind of steps leading up. I guess how would the attic be? I'd maybe get like a pull down. So there's like a hatch with a ladder coming down. It's not a big fancy house. So yeah. So the positive is you get in, you see a gun, but there's also a body on the ground. Hugh, yours was a 3, right? And you were trying to run to get in to the door.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say, well, obviously we'll say that's challenging, right? There's this big weird thing you're running. It's not like a super difficult thing. Let's say it's challenging. So you rolled a 3. So that would be yes, but something negative. So you're heading towards the door. You see this thing was distracted. It wasn't looking at you. So you're running to the side of it where it was kind of looking off towards where Michael ran. But what would be the negative for you trying to get into front door?
I think when I'm trying to go up the stairs, I trip and I kind of like stumble and fall on the porch or whatever.
And maybe that sound maybe pulls it to then look back towards you.
Sweet.
Okay.
But he did succeed, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He falls like in the doorway, like
exactly. But he's gravitated.
But he's prone. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing was kind of focusing on to where Michael ran. Sure. But that noise dragged him around. So you're in the house, but then now it's focusing on you and obviously Travis now because Travis is in there. So Michael, you're run up. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Kurt, were you?
Oh no, sorry. I was actually trying to swat a bug. It's fine.
So Travis and Hugh are in the house. Travis spots a gun, spots a body on the ground. Michael, you run around the back, axe in hand. It's a pretty dinky little farmhouse. So I would assume there's a door on the back. So when you run around the back, you'll see out the back is where there's some plots, that are scraped out. This is November, so there's not anything growing, but you'll see, out the back, there'll be some open area and some plots and maybe a couple that are fenced off. But yeah, so there's a door coming out straight. There's no steps or anything. It's just straight out. Okay. So there is a door there, and you got a 6, right?
6. Yeah.
Okay. So the yes and for that, I'm guessing would be that door's then open too, right?
It's unlocked. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless there was something else you could think of. I think that.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay. So then I'm guessing you're going to open the door and go ahead and go in.
Yes.
Cool. So next frame, you guys are all in the house now. This thing is out the front. Its attention's been dragged back to the front door from when Hugh tripped. So I guess we're in the next frame now.
Yep. So Travis is torn because there's obviously someone injured or whatever. So he looks up towards the gun, but then runs over to check on the person who's on the floor. See if they're alive, see if they've been, shot, cut, bleeding, they have a pulse, like that kind of stuff. I can give you a first aid roll.
Yep, go ahead and do that real quick. So that's going to be your action for this frame then?
Correct.
Okay, so what's Hugh's action going to be?
I think if I could try to talk you into this, I think I would like to use my brains with my streetwise, and it's almost like Hugh's being a drug dealer and having to deal with some negative things on the job or whatever. I don't know why I can't think of the words, but he would probably do the same thing. Just look for anything he could use as a weapon. He's like his switchblades are cool, but he sees this big fucking ugly thing that he's never seen in his whole life, and he's like, okay, obviously I need something bigger.
He's jealous because Travis has got a gun, and you're assuming Michael has an axe now because he's
did Travis get the gun? Because it sounded like Travis kind of negated the gun to go see the guy.
Oh, it's there, but it's there though. So you see a gun, but you just don't have it on you at the moment, right? Is that what we said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So there is a gun there. Travis is focusing on the person first. Okay, and then what would be Michael's?
He's just gonna try to kind of run through, whatever kind of back room, whether it's like the kitchen or whatever that he's in. He's gonna kind of not yell out, but kind of, talk loud, soft, and kind of be like, Travis, Hugh, guys. And
okay,
just
so
kind of start to skulk through the house to try to get to them.
Okay, so it's not a super big house, and it's probably a bit of an open planny kind of thing. So let's say the back that you came in was maybe let's say like the back slice of the house, the door you came in, maybe that's like a storage area. It's like a mud room. There's some boots there and things like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then you can go through there into the main area where there's like a kitchen on one side. There's like a sitting living area on the other side. Mm-hmm. You see, if you're peeking through the door, you'll see Travis head over to the one side away from the kitchen and kind of look at something on the ground. And Hugh's kind of just like looking around, seeing, taking in everything. So everybody give rolls for that, and then we can go ahead and resolve everything.
Okay, I got off. So do you want to give me a DL? So I rolled. I have my roll already, right? But maybe it's better for you to tell me what it is instead of you're like, oh, well, you got this, so I'll make it this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're trying to just see what state
I'm doing a first aid roll to assess this guy or woman and see if there's any damage, what that damage is. Check for pulse, see if they're okay.
Yeah. So you've got experience, right? Whether it's just looking after yourself to make sure that you can wake up in the morning. So I would say it would be a challenging role. It wouldn't be anything more than that because you have experience with that. Your hobbies kind of lend yourself to being an unofficial first aid doctor because you're always trying to make sure you're taking care of yourself after the stuff. So I would say that would be a challenging role.
Okay. I got a 4 total.
Okay. So that would be bang on then, right?
Success.
Yep. Regular success. I'm sorry. Not, right? Yeah. It's exceed by 1. Nailed it. Yep. Okay. So Hugh.
I got an 8 total.
Okay. So you're looking around towards the back of the house where you see you're looking towards the back of the house and you see Michael coming in. And when Michael looks in, you can kind of see that's kind of like a work area. There's some boots and stuff. So if there's going to be anything you want to grab, you would suspect that there might be something in that part of the room. So you head back while Michael comes in to go look to see if there's anything there. And I guess the something positive, the yes and would be, I guess, what you find back there, unless you can think of something else.
Okay.
What you want to grab.
I'll just say because this is a big farm and stuff like that, we'll say maybe whoever lives there or whatever, this guy that lives there, maybe he plays ball or something like that, or maybe he has a bat just in case. He's gotta be a little forceful without being too forceful with the shotgun. So he's just has a little something lying there. So I mean, I don't know for sure if you think that's a good idea or not, or if it's just something where maybe I find maybe there's a fireplace off to the side or something like that, and I find a poker and
I would say that any of those with the roll, you're out on the farm, so obviously a big firewood poker, a baseball bat, that wouldn't be surprising, right? It's the 20s. The Pirates are actually halfway doing good then, so you might be able, there'll be one lying around, and so I don't see which one of those you pick.
Let's say it's actually in a box or something, and it's got somebody an old player's signature on it or whatever,
Babe Ruth.
Because what you've heard about this guy, right? So what Soboleski told you is he's kind of a fancy guy who moved out here to be a farmer. So that would make sense that he would have some money for something like that.
Yeah. So he's He's like, "Sorry, buddy," and he takes his elbow and just smashes the glass case that it's in and takes it out, and then he's just kind of stares at it. He's like, "Yeah, this is a little more like it."
I can't think of any famous pirate back then, though. That's the thing. So yeah, so we'll just say it's a Babe Ruth bat, I guess, because that'd be a popular one. So Travis, we'll get to you. Yours is in a second. Your resolution in a second, and then so Michael, you said you were just kind of coming through. Was there anything you wanted to do with that role? Was yours a?
Not a. I'm just, he's just like keeping an ear out for what's, if this thing starts coming in through the front door or whatever, I don't know, phasing through a wall, whatever the fuck this thing can do. So,
okay.
He's basically just trying to kind of keep an ear and eye out for danger coming into the house.
Okay. So Travis, you looked at the body. How do I want to do this? You see that it looks like trying to edit this on the fly. I'm trying to think of the best way to handle this on. So it looks like there's no signs of a pulse or breathing or anything like that. You can't see any kind of damage on it, but you definitely don't see the chest rising. You don't feel a pulse on it from the thing laying there.
Okay. Is it a man or a woman?
It's a man, and it's man, maybe late 20s, early 30s. Dressed up kind of like a farmer would be, but a bit nicer clothes than that William Sobolewski was wearing. So so that's what it kind of looks like.
Is it a psyche check to
like
find
a
the
cosplay
body?
farmer?
Cosplay, yeah, exactly right. I think so we said the dead body, that would be what would be
That's like a 3.
Yeah, I think that was what
2 or 3. Can I argue that I would get a bonus from being in the war? Like, to find a dead body in a farmhouse is like more surprising, but like he's been exposed to that sort of thing, so maybe it's not as shocking as it would be.
Yeah, I would say, and it's not like you haven't seen some shit anyways, right? So the type of life you lead, it doesn't really shock you that much. So yeah, I would say you would get a bonus for that.
Okay, or just lower the difficulty, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Either or.
Oh my God! I rolled 2 1s and a 2. He's shocked as fuck.
Wow.
He flips the guy over, and checks him and everything, and he's just like, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. I must have killed him.
Well, I mean, what does the guy look like, right? Like, did he just like have a heart attack, or is he messed up in any way?
Kevin said he looked like there was no marks on the body.
Yeah, there wasn't. There's no blood trail.
True.
There's anything like that.
Yeah.
So this would be against you. Would this be a psyche check then, right, John?
So it's a psyche check that I failed. My high was a 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna roll on the shock table, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But yeah, Travis just starts screaming like, "He's dead! He's dead! It must have killed him."
Okay, shock table. Let me pull that up. I thought I copied into my.
Oh, I have it. If you just want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say my keeper screen, which is just a Word document that I copied a bunch of stuff out of the different. Oh, there you go. I got it. Okay, so this is roll 2d6s, right?
Correct.
8. 8.
Oh no,
That's not good.
So do you want to do direction? Because like I would say I'll run into the mudroom, but maybe I run out the front door, right?
Well, no, because that to me the opposite direction would be, that the body's kind of up near the front door. You guys came in the front door and the thing's there. So yeah, running out the back, that doesn't surprise me.
So that Travis just like stands up and just like bolts for the fucking mudroom.
So just going a bit ahead. So we said for the next frame for you to break that, you would have to roll. Would it be the same DL then? We said DL4.
It would be so whatever you decided.
The psyche check.
The dead body was, right. So
we said it was a 3 then. So Jesse said a 3.
Yeah. So you'd have to beat a 3. The other way to break that is to like be out of the range. So like if you if you're walking in the park and a monster jumps out, it's like, booga, 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 I'm a monster. And you run away and then you're no longer, sort of threatened by it.
Yeah, you move away
also,
from the source of trauma. Okay.
So that would be up to you. Like if he runs into the mudroom, kind of like slams the door, puts his back up against it. Mm. If you want to make that another psyche check, or if it's like, okay, well, because it's more of a psychological thing at that point. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not I'm going to remove myself away from this monster. Although he is moving away from the source of the shock, which is the body. But that's your call.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. So that would be then this frame, while Michael's coming up toward the front to where everyone else is, he comes out through the door. Hugh's heading back towards the door to grab. Oh no, you grabbed the bat inside, so it wouldn't be in the mudroom. You're heading over towards the bat, and then all of a sudden you guys see Travis bolt out the back door and kind of slam the door behind him. And while Michael's looking at the front, the stupid thing failed again. So you hear the whistling a lot higher. It gets closer to the and maybe you see the door kind of push a little bit, but it's still holding. Because my assumption is once Travis and Hugh got in, the door was slammed and you guys locked it. That would be my guess when you guys came in. You both had really good. I think Travis, you had really good rolls when you came in. So I'm assuming you kind of locked it after. So yeah, the thing's outside the window. There's a body on the ground. Michael's coming up. Hugh goes over and elbows some kind of glass container, grabs a bat, and Travis is heading towards the back. So now we're on the next frame.
Where the fuck are you going? He says to Travis as Travis sprints away.
He says through the door, "It killed him. It must have killed him. That guy's dead. He's dead. There's nothing. There's no marks on him."
He looks down at the body. He looks up at where Travis was, looks down at the body, and goes, "No shit."
Fuck you, man.
Okay, so we're in the next frame. I would say, so for Travis, you've taken yourself away from the trigger of kind of what affected your psyche. You've had a bit of back and forth with Hugh. So I would say, unless you disagree, I would say let's have that pull you back in to break that, right? So you've removed yourself from what caused it, and you're not focusing on it now. And now you're getting into a bit of back and forth with Hugh. So maybe the shock that overcame you now isn't affecting you because you're screaming and swearing at Hugh.
Right.
So I guess now what does everybody want to do with this? So for Travis, does that action of then breaking it, having that conversation with Hugh, would that be your action for this frame?
I mean, talking is generally like a free thing, right? But I guess, that could be the comic frame. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? No, fuck you. That guy killed him, blah, blah, blah. And then, if Michael wants to do something and the monster's going to do something, we're the combat for this is where it kind of falls apart for me because it's hard for me to conceptualize GMing. Like everything else is fine, but then we get into the crunchiness as much as this is crunchy. Of like, because the frames are sort of like the highlights of what, it's not the only thing that's happening, right? Like
it's the narrative.
It's like a D&D combat. Like you don't just swing one time and you miss. You're riposting, you're parrying, you're moving your feet, you're circling around. So core frames are sort of the same thing. There's stuff that's happening that if you're watching a movie, you see it's happening, but then, the camera zooms in and, you get that slash or that, witty repartee or whatever, in a situation like that. So it's kind of up to how you want to run it.
Okay. I would say that, so you kind of, the spell that was, not spell, that's the wrong way. So the fugue that came over you was kind of broken because you've had this kind of back and forth with Hugh. I would say that's kind of the overarching, let's have that as kind of a framing. So I would say if you want to, you can then come back into the room because you're both giving each other a bit of shit, and then you can have another action after for the frame. But we'll just have the talking and then you snapping out of it as part of the overall, what everybody's doing. So I guess now everybody would know for this frame, let's do roles about what everybody wants to do. So there's a body laying on the ground. It looks like it's dead. Hugh and Travis are kind of shouting to each other. Travis maybe is coming back in. Hugh's got a bat. Michael's got an axe. And there was a gun sitting in the kitchen counter that Travis saw when he first came in.
Okay, I'd go and grab the gun then.
Okay, so let's do. Okay, so you guys hear that whistling sound again, and there is a giant gust of wind, and the door kind of blows in. It doesn't blow off the hinges, but it does. It does swing. Would it swing open or swing out? It would swing open. So the door swings open and kind of bangs on the wall, and then this thing kind of starts coming towards the door and is trying to fit through. So we said it was about 2 or so feet wide and about 7 feet tall. So it's not completely jammed in width-wise, but obviously it's jammed in kind of lengthwise. So it's coming in. So that would be for the frame. That's the action for the pull-up. It blows the door in and it's trying to come in.
Okay. Is there a roll grab the gun? Like we're under no sort of immediate duress, right? So could he just like sort of open the door, kind of brush past Hugh and just grab the gun?
Yeah, I would say, because the thing's not in the room, it's not in. So, you can go and get it. And I'm assuming you guys are yelling back and forth. You come into the door, all of a sudden the other door blows open while you open that door and you see this thing start squeezing through. So obviously I'm thinking Travis's first thought's going to be run over and grab the gun. Yeah. So that makes sense. And then was Hugh over near where the body was before Travis bolted, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay. And then Michael was just coming in, so he's kind of in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
So that's where you guys are stationed now. Michael and his axe, Hugh and his knives, and Travis now has a gun. So I guess now it would be the roles for what your actions would be for this frame. What you guys want to do?
I'm gonna hide.
I am shooting. he grabs it one-handed, chunk, chunk, boom.
Yeah. Before he would do that, that's what Hugh would say, because Travis had basically just ran away and then finally came back and grabbed a gun. So he's like, okay, does Travis actually know what the fuck he's doing, or is he just running around like a chicken with his head cut off? So he's like, shoot the fucking thing. And then I think I'm going to hold my action again to see what happens after he shoots it.
Okay.
I got a 7, sir. So again, then we're not comparing its attack value versus my attack value. It's sort of in the open. If it has armor, that would be added to the die roll. If it has no armor, then
it would be added to your die roll, right? It would be a minus or a plus to your die roll, right?
So a plus to your defense. So I got a 7 to hit it. So if it has, if it's just in the open, it's squeezing through the door. If it has like inherent armor in its form, it would be your die roll plus the armor, and then we would compare that to my shooting.
Yep. Okay, and that would be might, right? That would be a might roll, or are we just doing a straight roll to compare it?
So it's gonna. So at the beginning of every frame,
Grace. I think that was it. Grace is.
It's whatever you're doing.
Grace. Yeah,
but it's whatever you're doing. So if it's gonna whistle, whatever your skill you're using for whistling, it's that die roll.
I got you.
The modifiers are armor, it's cover, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And I think what when that was the roll when it was whistling in that wind that blew the door open and it was coming in. The roll it had was a 6.
Well, so for what it's doing this frame. So if it's
so we're in a.
Oh,
I thought we said this frame was him.
Oh, is that part of that same frame?
Yeah. Not him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is part of the same frame. So it, him, she, whatever. Yeah, exactly. So it was a 6. So yours was a 7.
Correct.
So that would be you've nailed it. So you've hit it. So what is the damage for a shotgun?
It does harm.
It's all Yeah, it's all 1. And then if a lot of times during combat, if you get a yes and, then your and can be it does an extra point of damage.
Okay, so this one you nailed it because you exceeded it by 1.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that would be damage to its health.
Health might, whatever seems appropriate. It's squeezing through the door, so the bulk of it. So health or might probably.
Yeah. So okay, that would be health, and then so obviously, Travis pumps the shotgun, shoots it. This thing trying to squeeze through the door. You hear that whistling sound. Now you hear a shriek after the. I'm assuming the pellets or the slug. Would he be bird hunting? Yeah, I'm guessing it's pellets, right? He wouldn't have a slug for.
Well, so if it's like for varmints, right? It would probably be pellets, but I mean,
either or you hit them.
Right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I'm just trying to think for the narrative. Yeah, so let's say it got peppered with a whole bunch of shotgun shell, and you hear it kind of screech. It's still trying to get through the door, but you did hit it pretty bad.
All right, cool.
Yeah, because it's a shotgun and you're up close, so it's not like you winged it or anything, and it is a big, huge thing squeezing through the door. Okay, so next frame, Travis has shot the thing coming through the door. Hugh was over near the body, just kind of waiting to see what happened after the shot. And so do we want to have Hugh? He was kind of quote unquote holding his action to see what the shot did. Do we want to have him resolve that now, or do we want to take it into the next frame?
I don't think there's an actual mechanic for holding, so I kind of feel like that's the frame.
Okay.
Right, because everything is always sort of simultaneous.
Yeah, everything happens at once. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too, because literally I'm waiting for you to take your action. So if that takes a frame, then it takes a frame. Because I'm not going to be like, you know what? He's going to shoot, and then I'm going to go and try to hit him with my bat. Like, that's not going to happen at the same time, because I don't want to die by that right away. You know?
Yeah. It's almost like you're pulling like last line of defense, right? Like if it gets close enough, I'm going to hit it, but you keep shooting it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I got your back. It's fine. You're doing good. You're doing a good job.
Doing great.
Okay, that sounds good. So then we go ahead and take it to the next frame. This thing's trying to still come through the door. It was hit by Travis' shot. Hugh's over near the body, and Michael was kind of running up towards the front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next frame.
I shoot it again. I shoot it harder.
Okay.
And I think this time Hugh's going to wait for like the half a second. Now this is going to be tough, but I think it could still work. He knows that Travis is probably going to just keep trying to fire, but he's going to like wait for him to fire. And then as soon as he fires, he's just going to take off and try to stand to the side and just try to just swing really hard at the thing without being in its like general line of sight, just being off to the side of the door, trying to, give it a cheap shot.
Okay. And Michael, what do you? Go ahead.
I was going to say, you hear me pump the shotgun, right? So like you can time it, right? It's like, boom, and then you run in and whack it, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Michael.
I think Michael, he doesn't. He doesn't want to leave the two of them just like alone. He's so he'll.
Because you were looking for somewhere to hide.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he did hide. He was kind of like behind like the couch or the armchair or whatever it was. And he'll kind of give like a and like turn and like jump out of cover and then just like swing the axe at this thing.
Okay. So there's going to be a gun, a couple stabbings, and then an axe hit on it. So Travis goes first, then Hugh gives it a few pokes, and then Michael comes.
Oh no, I'm gonna use the bat. I'm still using the bat.
Oh, you got the bat. That's right.
Yeah. There's no way I'm gonna go in with a switchblade trying to be like, you know. No.
Okay, so
I got an 8. I rolled a 6.
Oh, very nice.
What did Hugh get?
So are we doing now? Just because I'm running and hitting it, like, is it still might or is it grace? I don't know what to call that.
I would say might, right? Because you're swinging a bat at it.
Might to swing, like you're not running very far.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not.
That makes sense. Yeah,
and it's a big fat thing jammed through the door, so it's not like you've got to parry it or anything. So
yeah.
And because it's frames, right? So like it's comic book frames. Like you could get super granular and say, okay, well, Hugh, make me a grace roll to make sure you don't get shot, right? But we're really just showing like the high points of action within the frames. So it's just like we just sort of assume that he does that, and then
the bams, pows, and swacks.
Yeah, swinging the bat and like bam and like Batman, 64 style. Like that's the frame is the bat connecting to the thing or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I got a 6.
Okay. Michael?
I got a 6 as well.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
663.
So this is how it's going to go. So you see the thing's jammed into the door. It's been shot once. The way this was timed, you hear that wild whistling noise again. It starts ramping up. And then right when it's reaching the climax of as loud as it gets before. Oh, not that kind. I picked the wrong word. I got to get my thesaurus. right before when you felt the gust of wind coming out with that loud pitch, Travis fires and hits it, and you hear that screeching again. So that's a yes and for Travis.
So I'll do 2 points.
Okay, so for working through so everybody understands what the mechanics are, one of its stats are now down to 0.
Okay.
And then we're going to start taking it from another stat. And I think the rule said once 2 stats reach 0, is that when it's...
So it's, again, sort of a fluxy thing, right? So like if this is the BBEG, at the end of a scenario, then you may want to go 3 stats like the character.
Yeah.
If it's a mook and you're in a random firefight to kind of, get you from one point to another point, well, then it could just be, 1 stat. So
Gotcha.
It sort of depends on what your layer of the narrative is and how important, the combat is. It could be 1, 2, or 3. So
gotcha.
That's
okay.
Really up here.
Okay, cool. So one of the stats is down to 0 health. I guess maybe I shouldn't have told you that, but we're playing through so everybody understands how the rolls work. So I'll just say that. So you hear it screeching again. It looks like it's now it's wedged into the door, right? And it's at that point of, do I go forward or I go back? And I think it's past the point of no return. So it's getting more frantic trying to get in, push through. So you see it moving more and trying to jam through a bit more. Like the door jams are starting to flex a bit. So it is still trying to get in, but a lot more frantic around its actions than it was right before Travis shot it. So Travis shoots it. That happens. Hugh comes over and whacks it with the bat and does damage. So yours is a yes and also, Hugh.
Nice. So I would love to do it an extra damage, but because I thought of this since the beginning, I was like, well, I gotta do this. Before he goes and does that, he goes into his little fanny pack and he finds one of his little special pills that he pops it into his mouth and he says, "Party time," and then he runs and goes and hits him.
That sounds good. So you've smacked it with the bat. You hear it shriek again. It's still trying to push through. I'll say with how shitty its rolls were, that any of those tentacles that you saw before are stuck behind it. So obviously it didn't put his arms through before it was trying to jam through the door. So it is kind of just wedged in there. And, you hear that shrieking, and then, takes a whack of the bat from Hugh. So Travis shoots it, unloads on it, steps back. Hugh runs up, whacks it with the bat, and then kind of steps aside. And now there's a free shot for Michael to do what he wants to it.
Oh yeah, it's practically an eye closed experience. Like he's just basically like the thing is in a doorway, practically dazed, giant target. Like it's literally like a 7x3 foot target, almost impossible for him to miss. So he like eyes turn, like head turned, eyes closed, almost like half, like never actually swung an axe in his life. Like just like, and like just luck wills him to hit this thing.
And you got a 5 on that, right?
6.
6. So yours is a yes, and also this thing rolled really bad on the last one. So
so let's say yes, and his like slash into it actually has the thing like flow back. I don't know. Is it like walking on the ground, or is it just kind of like hovering in air?
When you were outside, you saw it hovering. It did have like one kind of appendage down.
Okay.
But it's trying to get through the door. So it may be on the ground, right? But that's just because it's trying to wedge its way through. It's not.
Okay. We'll say almost like an air hockey table. There's like a thin layer of air between it and the ground. And so, yeah, when he hits it, it just kind of like floats backwards back outside, like a few feet outside. Okay.
So you did the 1 damage, and that's your and is to kind of push it back out through the door.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. That would be the end of that frame. I think everybody's got their positives on that roll. So the things pushed back out through the door. Like I said, there is a porch, but it's not like a big porch. It's just like some steps up and maybe like a foot wide, down the side. So that thing's pushed back, and it's, drifting back towards the steps, which are, a foot or so from the door. You guys are all still in the house. And you see the thing after Michael's hit gets it pushed back. So now we're into the next frame.
I step up to shoot, and then I yell, "Close the door! Close the door!" Obviously, after I shoot it.
I was gonna say, well, depending on how your rolls go, we'll see if the door closes before you shoot it.
I push Travis out, and I close the door. Good luck. Boy, yeah, I think I'm gonna do another thing where like I just kind of wait and let him do his thing, and then I'll shut the door.
Okay, Michael.
Yeah, Michael's gonna kind of hide, like on the outside, like almost like against the wall next to the door, like just kind of like giving himself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
You can't see me. You can't see me. You can't. See
yeah, right.
Okay.
Mainly so he will not be this thing's first target if it does come back through.
Okay, so Travis, what was your roll?
Got a 6 total.
Okay. Hugh.
Now, do you want me to roll something to shut the door?
It could be a grace roll. Can we time it the right way? But again, that's up to you.
Why not?
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Grace.
You slam the door, I shoot through it.
I got 2 6s. No problem. I shut doors like a motherfucker. Actually, that pill actually kicks. I'm gonna call it a yes and I don't even care. I'm gonna say that it kicks in, and then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I see how he shoots. I see how he connects if he does, and then I shut the door with perfect precision. Oh my god. Precision. I can't say the word right.
Michael, what was your roll? Well, wait, you're not doing anything, right? You're just trying to hide. You're just
I'm
trying
hiding.
to hide by
Yeah. I got a 4 in hiding.
Okay, so that roll doesn't go against whatever that's not an opposed roll to whatever the thing was doing. So because you're not attacking, you're just going to hide.
Yeah.
Right.
I figure I'll have like
full cover,
like cover and shit like that. So yeah.
I was just going to say, so it's not like that rolls against that. So, if it was lower, you would trip, or you would trip and close the door while you're going to. So you're good. So
Travis shoots the door instead.
Travis, you pump the shotgun, you shoot it. You hear a really, really loud shriek. And right after you hear that shriek, Hugh comes and bashes the door and closes it. You guys both rolled 6s, I think, Hugh and Travis, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. So that would be you nailed it. So you exceeded by 1. So you nailed it precisely. So you shoot it, you hear an even louder shriek. And then maybe you hear a thud, and then Hugh comes and slams the door right after you pull the shot. And Michael is back behind the door. I think you said you were heading over towards the door, right? So Michael's just standing there. Let's say Michael's looking out the window and sees it after all that happens. And then Michael sees this thing kind of tip over and fall back down.
Guys, I think it's dead.
Are you sure? Like he's shotgun at the ready, like at the door, but you could see that the barrel is starting to like shake a little bit.
Yeah.
Hugh is already trying to grab a couch and trying to put it in front of the door, regardless of what you're saying. He's just like, help me get this in front of the door. I don't give a fuck what happened. It's like, that I don't know what that thing is, and I don't want to know.
Yeah. Let's say it's a floating tower of mouths and eyes. How the hell do I know if it's dead or not? I just know it's not moving-ish.
Michael, go check its pulse.
So I'll if you guys are like, I should like bump the couch into my leg as I'm sort of like standing there, shakily holding the gun at that point. So he, kind of like backs away as you guys push the couch in, and then he goes to the window and pulls the curtain, and it's just kind of like staring outside, waiting to see if anything happens.
All right. It looks like it's just laying there. It doesn't look like it is just laying there, and it's
possum.
Yeah, exactly right. It has one big eye, but it's trying to, it's trying to peek its eye open to see. Playing possum. No, so you see it laying there, and it's not like it's shriveling, but you can see it's like kind of decompressing a bit. It's it was exactly right. It's kind of mooshing in on itself. It doesn't look like there's anything like flowing out from it or anything. There's not a whole bunch of fluids going out of it, but it does look like it's just kind of collapsing in on itself. Not very fast, but you can see it, kind of decompressing while you're doing that. And so you're looking out the window. Travis is looking out the window. Michael was looking out the other window, and Hugh's standing there. So I guess that's all the frames. The thing's dead. So now we'll just go to like narrative, right? We're not going to have to do that. So you guys are all in there. There's a body on the ground. The thing outside, it was kind of just, deflating like a balloon. I'm assuming there was balloons in the 1920s, right? I have no idea.
I assume so, yeah.
Exactly. It's deflating like something that would deflate that you guys
Lead
know.
balloons is nothing.
Exactly.
Like a Zeppelin.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, not that way. Not like a big fiery, but the other way. It's shrinking down, and you guys are all in the room. I'm assuming gun, bat, and axe all in hand.
So I think as it starts to deflate over the course of a few minutes or whatever, he lets the curtain fall, and he turns and he puts the shotgun down on the table, and like just sits on the corner of the table. He goes, I think it's dead. It's flat. It's going flat. Fuck. what the hell is that thing? Then he starts like reaching in his coat pocket, and he takes out a little dropper bottle and leans his head back, and you see him drop a couple of drops under his tongue.
Is there any kind of buff for that? Do you get any?
He has a morphine addiction, so if you want me to make a drug tolerance roll at some point, like in the near future, right? Like it probably doesn't kick in right away, but like he's shaky now. Like
he's shaky before he took it.
Yeah, so like when they shut the door, like it thudded, and Hugh shut the door, and Michael said that it was down, and like he's like the adrenaline and all that stuff, right? Like, because it's been a little while since he had been in combat, and he's kind of like, running on instinct sort of thing, right? Like the military training kicks back.
So the morphine's not giving you the shakes; it's what's going on.
It's been what's going on. So he's taking the morphine
trying to settle it down,
like settle his nerves.
So I would say there's no reaction now, but maybe let's hold that a bit later to see if we then want to do a roll. But that would be cool to play into that. Okay, that's fine. Michael.
Michael's just like slumped down, like just dragging his back down against the wall, and like slumps down onto the ground. And he's like, I don't know what that was. And he just kind of like rests his head against like the cool against like the blade of the axe that is like should be cool because it was outside, but then he realizes that it was embedded in whatever that thing was, and it probably has like goo and guts like all over it. And he like pulls his head back, and there's like a string of like snotty shit. Like,
okay, good. While Kurt's, I'm going to go run real quick, and then we'll get Kurt to do his narrative, and then we'll do the next thing. But I'm going to go grab a drink now. If Kurt just hopped out, if that's all right, I'll be 2 seconds.
I'm going to go grab a beer then real quick.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I'm going to sit here.
I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, I see. Maybe this is a post-show thing, but I can clearly edit this out because nobody's here. I feel like this is the same as my playtest, in that we left and then didn't play for a while, and then it was like, what the fuck are we doing?
Right.
So it was hard to get into, and I may actually cut the front end of this off completely.
Yeah.
And just like pick up where like, okay, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't know, like it's weird because we don't have that problem with Todd. So I don't know if it's us or just with all of the other stuff going on.
I think I mean we have that problem with day trippers occasionally too.
Occasionally, but like this has been both of these games now, like twice
it has
in a
been,
row.
but I think it's because the play for these in terms of like when we're playing has been kind of erratic.
Yeah.
And it's also been like long periods of time. It's been like 5 weeks or so, like 5 or 6 weeks since we last played this.
I can tell you exactly when the last time we played this was August 26th. So a month and a half ago. Yeah.
So to get back into characters like with Day Trippers or even Alien and shit like that we've played multiple times is one thing, but to get back into a session that you just played for like a few hours is something completely different. So.
Yeah, especially when you can't find your character sheet and don't even know who your
Right,
character
exactly.
is. I'm gonna have to go back and edit the name in this thing because I think I pulled that right from the other session, so I didn't even occur to me.
Right, and literally I pulled up the other one and I just saw my name card under there, and I was like, "Oh, Michael Francis, there we go."
Yeah. Should go back and change it right now while we're fucking around. Oh, it is on there. Well, what the fuck did I copy then?
The other one?
I guess I must have. Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, well, whatever.
All right, ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, so Kurt. So I don't know if Travis. You looked at everybody. Travis looked out the window. The thing out there was kind of deflating in on itself. So he took a couple droppers of morphine. He's a bit shaky, so he took a couple droppers of morphine. Michael kind of slumps down and rests his head against the axe blade and then pulls it away. And there's all kinds of gooey strands when he pulls it away. He's resting the cold on his head. And so, what are you doing? What is Hugh doing?
So the little pill that Hugh took kind of centers him pretty. It's like limitless. All of a sudden, he's just like boom. Just all of a sudden, he's got a lot of synapses hitting and stuff like that. And he's like, what the fuck is this guy into? Why did that thing come from upstairs? We haven't checked upstairs. We should check upstairs.
Fuck, you're right. You're right. So this has got to be that guy, right? I mean, he's young.
Yeah.
Look at his clothes. He doesn't he's dressed like a farmer, but
like an upscale farmer. So it's got to be him.
He'll go back over to the body. Like he'll pull himself off from sitting on the table and go back over to the body and search the pockets to see if he has a wallet, right? I would assume in the 20s, every man has his wallet on him at all times, right? So he'll check for that, check for the ID, to see if it actually is that guy before we go upstairs, I guess.
Okay, so you head over. You kind of, and I'm assuming 1920s guys' wallets, almost like George Costanza when he had the big giant wallet with all the
like a big flat billfold kind of thing. Yeah.
So it's not like it would be hard to see. So you see that in the back pocket, and also Travis. You're going to grab the wallet, pull it out. I'm guessing, pull it out to look. I'm trying to think what IDs in the 20s would be, right? It's not like you'd have a picture driver's license. I don't even know if there were driver's licenses in the 1920s.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So he would just look through the wallet to see what was in there, which really puts you on the spot. But
yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to.
He's got a library card, or I'm a fancy guy club card with his name on it, or whatever.
So I Googled forms of identification in the 1920s. The second result was identification in the 1920s, and it's from a Call of Cthulhu Reddit. So we're not the first people. So while you're looking through, you'll see a card, and it looks like it's kind of like a membership card. It's a bit fancy. It has, laurels on it and stuff like that. And the name on it was, what did we say? Nigel McGahey. So you do see that name. It's for something called the Duquesne Club. And you guys know that that's kind of like a drinking club in Pittsburgh. It's where, a lot of, businessmen, titans of industry, stuff like that go. And it does say Nigel McGahey on it. And from, what the farmer said, that's the guy who lived there. He did say he was a bit of a fancy pants. His dad was a guy that worked for the company that's doing this broadcast. And so you see that when you pull that out.
So he just flicks it, holds it out to the other two, and he says, "Well, this is the guy." He goes back over, grabs the shotgun, says, "I guess we should check upstairs then."
Yep, go ahead.
I've thrown it out. I assume you guys are like, sure.
Yeah.
So if Hugh's tweaking, right? So he took this pill and he's all his synapses are firing, right? He's all. Why doesn't Hugh give me an awareness roll?
Sweet. That's brains, correct?
A brains or psyche.
A cosmic awareness roll.
Yes. Boom.
You might not be far off, John. You kind of spoiled it.
6.
I did it.
So Travis goes over to the body, pulls out the wallet and looks at the identification card. So I'm assuming you're either standing or you're kind of down on a knee, next to the body looking at that. Hugh looks over, and I'm trying to think of a way to describe this. I'll describe it for the players and not the characters, because I don't think the characters would. It wouldn't. So Travis holds up the card, says the name. This is the guy. When Hugh looks over, he looks at the body, and it's almost like, like sometimes in sci-fi movies they like show a body and it looks like it clips or it like starts flickering. You see something lying there, it's there, and then it just all of a sudden it almost like it's blinking, right? It's like frozen on a VHS when you're, you push pause and going forward. So the body kind of looks like it's doing that. So I'm trying to think how to describe that in a 1920 sense.
So like a broken film, whatever, right? Because they have film, they have the silence at that point. So like the film sort of like flicking or
at
whatever.
the end of the film, whenever it does that flickering thing when the film runs out. So that's what. So Hugh looks over and the body's there. Travis is standing there looking at this ID he shows you guys. Michael's kind of just plopped down on the ground looking over, but Hugh sees this body kind of acting. It looks like a weird thing, like at the end of a film whenever the stagecoach comes towards the camera. And then the film runs out. It kind of looks like that. It's kind of flickering.
Yeah. So Hugh looks at Michael and then looks over to Travis and in the body or whatever. It's like, did you see that? Are you seeing this?
So I like 2 steps up this or reaching up to pull the ladder down and turn back to look. Do we see it?
Why don't you guys both make an awareness check then also?
All right.
Sure.
That is a 7, sir.
That's a 6.
All your dice.
We're aware of everything.
Yeah, new shit. Okay, so
we're in the Matrix, bitch.
Yeah, well, yeah, Hugh is because he took some kind of pill. We don't know if it's a red pill.
I took the red pill, baby. You know
it. So obviously,
I was gonna call it a red pill before too, but I decided not to.
So everybody got a yes and on this. So I'm trying to think how we would play that out. So when you guys look over, Hugh says, did you guys see that? Travis is kind of halfway up a couple of steps, pulling the ladder down, looks over, sees the same thing from the body. And then Michael kind of has the axe in front of him, kind of peeks around the edge of the axe, almost like he just around the edge, seeing it. And you kind of see the body does that weird kind of flickering thing. Mm-hmm. So you do all see it. So obviously if some of you failed it, then we would have played it out that Hugh's just on something. And, you guys could have ignored him, but you're all seeing that. So I'm trying to think what the yes ands would be for each of you for this.
Maybe we don't have to roll for like a shock or trauma because it's something we're not particularly used to.
Yeah, unless John or Jesse, you can come up with anything. That sounds good. That, you don't have to do a psyche roll for that. You've seen some weird shit.
Been through some shit already.
Yeah, this isn't too much farther than that. So, you guys are like, okay, well, there's some weird stuff that's gone on already. This isn't too much weirder than that thing out front. So
true.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. I mean, that seems like a big end, but if you're cool with it, I'm
well, we could do like a bonus.
John.
I mean, if not, you could do either like a bonus die or like a +1 to the psyche roll. if we don't want to just completely negate the
let's
check.
do that then. Let's do a +1 on the roll then. So for a psyche check, and I think we said that's a 4. So
I mean, it could be whatever. Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be.
I'm trying to remember.
What John will tell you what he thinks it wants to be.
Well, no. So I mean, the default is not 4. The default psyche check at 4 is for recovery.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the magic supplement, so that's why that 4 popped into my head. So
okay, yeah. So if you're like, this is super fucked up and body shouldn't flicker, like this is a 7, it could be a 7 if you want it to be.
True,
right?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, if it's something fucked up like that, like seeing a dead body is one thing, but seeing
something
a body
wouldn't see
blink
in
and out of existence.
Yes.
So that's why that 4 got stuck in my head, because I was literally looking at the magic supplement. Okay, that's fine.
So it could be a 4 if you want it to be a 4, but it's not like a default at a 4.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
so I got with a +1, I got a 5.
Okay. Hugh?
I got a 5 as well.
Okay.
I got a 7. See, I already told you, I'm not gonna be affected by this thing. I'm just gonna accept it now.
Okay, so we'll say we'll make this as a 5. So on the COREthulu book, it says seeing your friend get murdered equals a 5. Obviously, this isn't a friend. This is a dead body. So I would say that's more than a 2. But with the added things of what you saw outside, and now this body is kind of flickering in front of you, I would say that let's make that a 5. So for Travis and Hugh, you get a no, but something positive.
So it's different for the psyche ones.
Oh, that's the psyche one. That's right. Hold
so
on,
missed by 1 is a no, but the GM rolls on the shock table.
Okay, no, but for Hugh and Travis, and Michael was where's the shock table? You exceed, yes, and you're holding it together, so you're fine. So Michael sees the body kind of flickering in and out and looks around the axe and just kind of shrugs. And he's thinking, well, I've got an axe, so I'm not gonna worry. So John, should I roll individually for Travis and Hugh?
I would roll individually.
Okay.
Well, I actually rolled the 7, so that would be Michael and Travis that were.
Oh, Michael and Travis. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep. No worries.
Hugh. So Hugh's holding it together. He's probably thinking to himself, "I'm glad I took that pill."
Yeah, he's probably thinking the pill is part of it, even though these guys haven't taken it or whatever. He just thinks like, "I'm in a movie. Oh my god, this is amazing."
And then Travis is thinking, "Well, I took something too, and it's not working." So obviously, Hugh gave me some bad stuff. It's not working as good. So okay, so this will be Travis and Michael. Jesus Christ! So for Travis, it's an 8 again.
Boy, he just loves running.
You're going to be exhausted by the end of the day. He just keeps running.
I think
around.
he runs up into the attic, right? Like he's already pulled the things down. He's got
there you go. And he runs into the madness. He accepts the madness.
Okay, and then for Michael. Okay, so 9. So Michael got a 9. So you're lashing out physically or verbally.
Kicking the body. Fuck you! You're not supposed to do that.
No, fuck that. I have an axe. I start hacking it.
Oh no.
Okay, so let's do this. So Hugh looks down and kind of shrugs and goes, I'm feeling good. That's fine. It's weird, but everything else I've seen today, it's not that different. Travis runs and grabs the ladder, yanks it down, and starts climbing up to get up into the attic. And then Michael comes running over and starts chopping down on the body with an axe. So now what I'm going to have you guys do is everybody roll just 1d6, just a flat d6.
2.
Okay.
2.
Ooh. Uno.
Okay. So let me see how I play this out. So Travis runs up to the attic, climbs up into the attic. Michael comes over and starts swinging at the body, and Hugh's just kind of standing there staring. Once as soon as the axe hits the body, Hugh looks over and sees Michael kind of wink out. So as soon as the axe hits the body, Michael just kind of disappears, axe and all. Right before it hits the body, he just flashes and disappears.
Well, it's got to be another psyche check, right?
Perfectly normal.
But 1 minute for everybody. So then, Hugh's kind of looking at that, and okay, let's play it. So yeah, so Michael winks out. So Hugh sees that. He's already seen Travis run and climb up the ladder. So do we say you guys both got a 2 and Michael got a 1, right? Wasn't that what it was?
No, Hugh got.
I got a 1.
Okay, so Travis and Michael got a 1, and Hugh got. Michael and Travis got a 2, and Hugh got a 1. Okay, so Hugh, you see Michael flash out, and then also while Travis was going up the ladder, you see his feet. The last when he's climbing up. You see his legs disappear, right? So you see one leg going up and the other leg he's climbing, but they just kind of wink out also. It doesn't look like he's pulled his legs up. They just his leg and his bent knee where the other leg is just kind of disappears.
So I should probably roll shock first before I do whatever it is that I
in a minute, because everybody's gonna have to roll shock. So let's just one real quick thing. Hugh's looking around, he sees those two. Does he do anything? Is there any initial reaction of what he's doing?
Basically he's just like, what in the actual fuck is going on here, kind of thing. He doesn't know what to do.
So let's say that he screams, "What the f-" and then right before he gets to the CK, Hugh winks out. So everybody roll. Just to make sure I get this right, John, let me pull this up again. So this will be for the psyche. So this would be for the shock.
This is a psyche check.
The psyche roll, and then we roll on the shock table if you fail.
If we fail, yeah.
So okay, now is Michael blinking in and out like the body was?
No, you just flash out.
Just
so
vamped out. Okay,
exactly.
They all disappear.
Yeah. So Travis and Michael kind of at the same time, and then Hugh notices it, and then he does it. Splits it.
Gotcha.
But Travis and Michael don't see that.
Right. So what are we?
What are we trying to beat?
Yeah.
So you are all being teleported to another location. So that would be a 7.
So the best we could do is a 6.
I rolled a 1.
I can tell right away when Jesse rolled. I'm like, oh boy, it's definitely a 1.
Oh, I got a 3. So 2 no ends.
I got a 5.
So you actually got so we all.
You're all no ends. Yeah. So no and then I roll on the shock table, and then.
So maybe. So because we changed shit from I think what you have, unless you downloaded from thing. So Jesse, what are you doing?
I had 1.7, I think, is what I had.
Oh yeah, 1.7 is not.
Okay, that's fine.
Accurate at all.
So miss by more than 1. No, and the GM rolls on the shock table. And you gain a trauma. So we all gain trauma.
Okay.
And that's what 1.7 said too. So that's the same.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you all gain 1 trauma.
-1. We removed the harm to psyche is what it was, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is no -1. It's just add a trauma.
Yep. So I think I am now at phobia because I have unsettled and anxiety already marked off.
You have anxiety too? Jeez.
I think you had it from the beginning, didn't you?
Now I'm at anxious. So
okay. And then we're all on the shock table for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you, for the phobia, do you pick that out or do we?
So it could be, so like theoretically it should be related to whatever causes it, right? So like, for me,
it could also be the first. I mean, it could also be the first thing that you see, depending on where we're teleported to. It could be something connected to that.
Yeah. Okay. If we wind up on the plateaus of Lang and there's a giant fucking spider, it's probably spiders.
Right. Well, I was going to say it's not going to be substance abuse because you already got that. So you don't have to worry about adding that one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I feel it's one of those things you like sort of talk it out, right? So like Jesse said, if we wind up in the woods, then maybe it's a fear of dark places or woods or the smell of leaves or it could be anything. If there's nothing where we wind up at, like, you're in a nice, shiny, happy city, then it could be dead bodies, it could be farmhouses, it could be the smell of horse manure because we're at a farm. You know what I mean? Like the way the brain associates a phobia with a traumatic thing, right? Like it could be anything. It could be flannel. Right? The guy was wearing a flannel shirt.
But the trauma is by role playing it. It's not on a table, right? So the shock is, but not the trauma. The trauma can be you can pick it yourself. Like in Call of Cthulhu, that's on a D100 and you pick it.
Right.
This one is okay, cool. I just want to make sure that's cool. So the shock would be, so we'll go John first. 6. No. Not another one. Your legs are all tired. So you got a 6. So you're screaming in fear or aggression. And then
So he's just running up the steps. Nope, fuck this. Nope, this is bullshit. Fuck this bullshit.
Okay, so then Hugh is 7. So you drop whatever you're holding and step backwards 1 to 6 feet. So hold that action for a second. And for Michael, that is a 7 also. So drop whatever you're holding and step backwards 1 to 6 feet. So what happens is Travis and Michael both kind of wink out. Hugh sees that. And then right when he starts to go, what the hell's going on? Or I guess he's dropped an F-bomb. And then right before he gets to the end of the F-bomb, he winks out. So what happens is whenever you guys wink back in, Travis and Hugh, Travis and Hugh look around and they feel themselves they don't feel themselves. They're in a big, huge open room. When they look around, they see metallic tables and metallic shelves spread out across them. So there's a bunch of metallic tables across the floor. There's metallic shelves lining the walls. The ceilings above them are about 30 feet high. And when they look down, the floor almost has like a sandy color to it. And if when they look straight up, there's just a giant window looking out on a giant expanse of desert, and like the sandy color of the floor kind of matches the desert. So when you guys wink in and see that, Travis starts screaming, fuck this, fuck that, screaming and yelling. Hugh then also, so I'm assuming Hugh still has the bat. So Hugh drops the bat. Let's say it like drops and just rattles off like a metallic table standing next to him. And he steps back. He starts like stepping backwards away from this big open vista window. When Michael winks back in, he winks in, and when he looks in front of him, he just sees a bunch of guys sitting down, all with headphones on. There's all kinds of, and Michael's an engineer, so he would understand there's all kinds of equipment in front of all these guys with headphones on. There's like a ticker machine over on a table with the ticker tape coming in, and someone pulling that off and reading what's coming off the ticker tape. And, just a couple guys a couple guys sitting around with headphones on, and he drops his axe and starts stepping back a couple steps at a time. So who do we want to go with first? Let's go with Travis and Hugh. So you're in this big giant room, metallic tables. Travis is yelling and swearing. Hugh's dropped his bat and taken a couple steps back. And while you're there, you're just in this big giant room, the big giant window in the front, big desert landscape out in front of you, shelves with all kinds of cylindrical tubes on them all along the walls.
What do the people do? I mean, so like I'm screaming, the other two guys are just sort of like standing there. Does anybody like turn and like be like, shh?
No, you're in two different places. So Travis and Hugh are in this big empty room.
Oh, okay.
Michael got transported to where these guys are sitting. So you guys are in two different places right now.
Oh, okay. I did not catch that. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael's in Daft Punk hell. This is weird.
I guess like he stops screaming and kind of like looks around and looks at Hugh and where the fuck are we? What just happened? And like he kind of doesn't like point the shotgun, but like kind of is bringing the shotgun up to getting close to Hugh, right? So like again, like just instinctively like military training, like not necessarily back to back, but we're forming a cohesive unit.
Hugh just starts like trying to think of the word. He just like God, sorry. It's been a long day. He just starts laughing. He just starts really just
makes sense.
Just a psychotic giggle. He's just like what in the fuck is going on here? He just like he can't believe it. He just keeps giggling. He just keeps going. I really hope that I switched the red one for the blue one. I mean, I really do because I mean, and he just keeps giggling until Travis does something.
I think he probably slaps you, right? Like, like he's got the shotgun like leaning over one arm and like turns and like not like super hard, but like fucking slaps. Come on, man, snap out of it. And then like he slaps himself, right? Because he just took a bunch of morphine, and he's like, and then he looks again to see if we're still in the same place.
Yeah. He was like, we must be dead. This has got to be hell. We must be dead. Where the fuck are we?
So is now a good time to hold that roll, John? We said about your drug tolerance. Do you? Oh no, wait, you don't have that. That's
I do have drug tolerance.
You do have
because I'm an addict. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Hugh didn't have a reaction when he took the pill. Or he did have a reaction, but he was just kind of tweaking and whatever. Let's have you both roll. Yeah, both roll drug tolerance.
What skill is that?
So it would be based on health.
Psyche.
Health. Okay. All right.
If you don't have it, you could you just make the roll. You take the.
I got it. You betcha I got it.
Okay, I got a
drug tolerance. Like I'm not gonna have drug tolerance. Come on. 8.
Holy shit!
Wow. Like we're functional addicts.
Yep. Exactly. Like I said, now I remember from the first session, my guy tries everything that he gives to everybody else to make sure that it's all good. So.
Okay, so this is a yes and for both of you. So from my standpoint, I would say the yes is you guys look around. What the hell's going on? Would you say tripping back then? You're both realizing that this is not an adverse effect of what you've taken, right? You're not completely, you're still cognus mentis or whatever that phrase is. You still have your wits about you. So whatever you're seeing isn't because of what you were taking. And I guess a positive that's not part of the yes and I guess for Hugh is you guys aren't dead. So you're not dead, you're still alive. But so you realize you are somewhere. The drugs aren't affecting you. That's not what's causing the issue. So what would be the positive for each of you?
I mean, I don't know that it would mean anything to us, but maybe like there's a sign on the wall that says, like this is Migo fucking Central or whatever the hell. It's like the Carter Library or some sort of indication of
where we're at,
what the space is, I guess, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So Hugh, what about you?
I think for me, I'm gonna snap back to and be like, okay, where's Michael?
Oh yeah, you notice he's not there.
Yeah.
Looking around,
all the shit that's going on. I'm like, all of a sudden, just like it's like one of those things that in a movie where like there's a lot of eerie music and there's me giggling to myself, and then all of a sudden it goes, it's all the air sucks in. Where the fuck is Michael? That kind of thing.
Okay. So so let's say Hugh looks over to Travis. Travis is trying to look to see if he can see anything on the walls or anything. Hugh looks over and goes, "Where's Michael?" Right when that happens, you hear like kind of this metallic sound. Not
clattering,
not scraping though. It's not an unpleasant sound. It's not like screeching, but you do hear a sound of something sliding, almost metal sliding against each other behind you or across each other. So you guys look behind you, and I'm using the wrong mouse. When you turn around, you guys. I'm not trying to build tension. I just can't click the right thing. When you turn around,
I'm on pins and needles.
Yeah, exactly right. When you guys turn around, you see this.
What the?
Oh, I was right.
No, you weren't right.
Isn't that what that is?
No.
No, Amigo is the fucking brain in the jar thing.
No, Migo is the bug. The brain in the jar is what they
do to people.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, all right.
So you're both wrong. But anyways, hold on. So you guys turn around. You guys turn around and see this walking through a door that's slid open. I'm going to leave you there for a second with whatever you're swearing and yelling you're going to do at each other. And then let's hop back to Michael. So Michael, you are in you look around. It almost looks like it's like a big shed. Not a shed as in like a workman shed, but it's an outbuilding. Has like some brick walls and everything. Has like a big tin roof. You see a guy over near like a ticker tape thing, pulling some stuff off, talking to a guy next to him, and then there's just two guys sitting with headphones on. The big old headphones. And what you can hear is, it sounds like it's almost like the broadcast that you guys were listening to yesterday of the election results. So this is the day after. So this is Wednesday, the 3rd. The election results were Tuesday night. It's 1920. So you don't get election results immediately that night. So they're still going through election results. They're announcing them. And in front of you, you see a gentleman with a fancy suit, waistcoat, flower in his lapel. And he looks over to you and he says, I think you were brought here from my son's house, weren't you?
Who's your son?
Nigel. I had a feeling that something wasn't going very well. And when I reached out, I saw there were some others there with him. Can you tell me what you saw at Nigel's house?
I don't know if I don't know if I can describe. I mean, and then he kind of turns his head for a second, and he's like, "Is that a freshman masterpiece 5-tube?" Sorry, no. I mean, sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah, there was like a big tower of flesh thing with a bunch of mouths and eyes, and it kind of floated on the ground, but it didn't. And then there was a body and a guy, and then there was another in it. You know how when if they don't have like the focus on one of the projectors correct, and you know how can like the image can like flicker in and out if the timing isn't set properly, and that was happening, and it's weird, and now I'm here.
So
and wait, and he'll like start to look around. He's like, where's Travis and Hugh?
So whenever you say about the body, the flickering of the body, he'll kind of let out a sigh and say, "Okay, Nigel's safe. Thank you for bringing me that news."
I'm pretty sure Nigel's dead.
He holds up his hand and kind of smirks at you and goes, "It appears that way, but Nigel will be fine. Thank you for bringing."
No, he was dead. He was laying on the ground, dead.
When you say that, while you're looking at this man, he kind of flickers a bit, also like you saw on Nigel, and he'll kind of smirk at you and say, "I think Nigel will be all right. You don't have to worry about that."
And he'll just start like looking around anxiously now for like a door or a window or whatever, something that he can get. This is not an okay situation to be in now, he realizes.
So he says, "Please wait, friend."
I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm gonna leave now. There's some great equipment that you have here. It's nice. I really appreciate that scarce that you have over there. But I need to leave. I need to find my friend. Friends."
So he'll say, "Your friends are in no danger. They are talking to someone now who will explain what's going on, just as I would like to do to you now. You seem to recognize some of the equipment around here. Is that your job or is that your hobby?"
I mean, yeah, kind of a little of both, actually.
So obviously what's happening now is something that will take us to a cusp of a new age. This broadcast, this being able to communicate over long distances, being able to send news out to everybody, get everybody interconnected. We will be able to knit humanity together with communication and information. We will pull the world together and enter a new epoch of history. Do you not see the possibilities? Being able to send information across the globe to many people at one time. I know this may seem a bit crazy to you, and I know there's been a lot of shocks you've seen today, but trust me, what we're doing is for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, what you just said is really low on the scale of crazy things that I've seen in the last hour. So, yeah, we're okay with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's fine. Radio signals, broadcasting, everything like that, shortwave. We're all set with that. Floating aliens? No. No.
But you see, what we're doing here will eventually lead to being able to not have to worry about those big floating things. Every step of technology moving forward leads to benefits and maybe some adverse effects, but in the grand scheme of things, what we were doing will be for the benefit of all of will be for the benefit of everything that lives on this planet.
Wait, does the radio broadcast have anything to do with this thing being here right now?
The thing that attacked you?
Yeah.
It's not.
Like you didn't bring it here, did you?
We didn't bring it here. What we're doing with this broadcast will hopefully make sure that anything that lives on this planet will never have to deal with it again.
Oh, okay. I guess I kind of have to trust you on that. I don't know exactly what's going on right now.
So he will look at you and he will shimmer again a bit, and then you will blink out. And when you blink back in, you will be standing between Travis and Hugh. And they're looking this way, you're looking the other way. So whenever you wink back in between them, you're both looking at different directions.
All right.
And what you see around you is sandy colored floor, metal tables, metal shelves down each of the walls. And you're looking out and you see a big giant window vista of a big desert out in front of you, 30 foot high ceilings. But then Hugh and Travis are looking backwards.
He freaks out real quick and pushes Travis and punches Hugh.
So Travis and Hugh turned around and saw this weird thing coming through a metal door. And all of a sudden, after they see that thing, Michael flashes in ahead of him or in between them, and then punches them and pushes them.
Yeah, I think I spin and like pull the shotgun up, like hip to hip fire, and then realize that it's Michael. He's like, where the fuck did you come from? And then he turns back and he looks at the thing. He goes, what the fuck are you? And then he like doesn't like bring it up to the shoulder to fire, but kind of like has it at a low ready. So you're like, why? I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Whenever you do that, you all hear a voice. So it's not like you all hear a voice. You don't see anything coming from this weird triangular tentacular monster coming forward you. But you do hear something in your mind saying, we're in the great sandy desert of what you call Australia. We are 300 million years in the past of your time.
Is it speaking out loud, or do we hear it in our heads?
You hear it in your heads, but you all hear the same thing.
So
you all hear it. It's not like it's coming over speakers, but you kind of all hear it.
So he like sticks his finger in his ear and like fucking wiggles back and forth. That's not possible.
He'll look over.
I mean, it could be that they're using some type of ultra low frequency that can, it's like, so it's almost like a conductive material, a conductive signal.
No, we can't be in the past. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What? Oh no, I thought you were talking about the voices that we were just hearing. No. Oh. That? Oh, yeah, I have no idea I don't know what they're talking about with that.
Is that another psyche check?
Yeah, I would say.
I don't know if we believe it either. Well, there's a monster, right? There's another monster.
And he's telling you you're 300 million years in the past. Yeah. Let's make a psyche check. Yeah, why not?
So like deep ones and stuff like that are like a 4. So is this a 4 or is this more than that?
Let's say
I guess weird things have already happened, right? Like,
yeah. Well, so there's the weird thing in front of you, and then the thing that you've traveled into the past. Let's just say it's 4 because you've kind of seen both of them.
I got a 6.
Okay. Michael?
2.
Hugh?
6.
Okay, so the 6 is a. That's a yes and,
yes
right?
and if it's a 4, yeah.
Okay. And
But
then
2 is a no end, right? So another trauma.
Another trauma.
And
For
now
Michael.
we're all on the shock table. Yep.
Yeah. So while Kevin's rolling, I'm gonna say what my and is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hold my eye that Michael punched, and I'll be like, I don't really know anything because my fucking eye hurts, and he kicks Michael in the shin. He's like, you ruined my fucking buzz, man.
My phobia is boots.
Okay, so you roll 5. So your paralysis frozen in place.
Sounds good. That makes sense.
Okay, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. So if all the Cthulhu nerds out there, don't be mad at me. So the Travis, what was your and then?
I mean, how about that? Like he does, so obviously he doesn't freak out, and he like makes up his mind to like listen, right? Like we've seen a weird thing with fucking mouths and tentacles. We're the dead guy. We're now teleported. There's another monster. He's like, all right, give it to me. Like
I'm open for anything.
Yeah, well, you tell me what the fuck is going on because I don't know anymore.
All right, so Michael's frozen. Hugh's yelling at Michael for punching him, and Travis just kind of shrugs and goes, "Well, with everything else going on today, right? Might as well." So the thing looks over to you and says, "You were in the library of Nakutus." I think that's the way you pronounce it, right?
I think that sounds right.
Okay. This is the store of all knowledge that our race has been able to gather over the eons. The radio broadcast you were hearing is one of our new tools to be able to collect information and knowledge. Our only mission is to catalog everything in the known universe and everything that could be known. And you see kind of a weird tentacle-y thing with a horn on the end of it, a trumpet-looking shape, kind of wave around, and you see all along the shelves, there's all kinds of like metallic tubes. He says, all the information of the universe is stored here. We are using the radio broadcast to collect that information. We feel it is a good trade-off for humanity to be able to become more interconnected, to be more knowledgeable, to be able to bridge the distances of the globe, but then also we'll be able to pull out information to be stored here for everyone to use. And I guess another one of the pluses is the thing will look at Travis and say, there will be effects. Not everybody will be able to escape the collecting without some kind of impact. Just know that the suffering that some people will feel will be for the better good, for the greater good of all, not just humans, but for everything. And then all of a sudden you feel like almost like a calmness settle over you, and that kind of humming, buzzing that you've had in the back of your head since you've started listening to the broadcast kind of goes away.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a pop, and then it's just like silent.
Yeah. So all the other worms you have in your head all the time and stuff is still there, but that broadcast one is now gone.
So he puts the shotgun, kind of like throws it up to his shoulder, sort of like nonchalantly, and he says, "Why are we here? How did we get here? Why? What was that thing?"
The thing you fought is why we are collecting this information. If we are not able to continue to understand and research the universe, that thing you fought is what takes over the earth after humanity is gone. It came
we're
back.
Still here. How did it get there now?
You are here because we've brought you back here. We are in the past of the earth, before humans. The thing that attacked you is able to travel through time and space. It was trying to stop the one called McGahee from continuing the broadcast. We are using that broadcast to store and collect information to fight against those things, because those are what bring doom to the earth.
Well, I think they damn well succeeded, because he was good and dead when we got there.
The one you call McGahee was human, is human, but I can assure you that he is his essence, his knowledge, his spirit, I guess, as humans would call it, is safe. He is here, and he is also still researching. He is still understanding. He is still looking through the information that we store here. So that body you saw was just a shell, but his conscience still lives on.
So he does like a Kevin Hart, right? Like he walks like in a little circle and kind of like, has his hands like, what the fuck, right? Like, son of a bitch.
What we can offer you is we can give you experiences unimaginable. As you can see, we can travel through space and time. Our mission is to catalog all known knowledge and to help perpetuate our existence into the future. One of those things that attacked you, we're trying to defeat them because humanity isn't the first occupiers of Earth, and they won't be the last. We can offer you a chance to escape the bounds of humanity and be able to go through the past or the future. You'll see things you would never imagine in places you don't even have names for in the past and the future.
Is there a table, bench, chairs, or anything like that kind of near where we are?
Yeah, there's metal tables kind of all scattered around the room. It's almost like, there's like the big metal shelves, and there's all like the tubes, which are kind of like scroll tubes all along the shelves. Mm-hmm. And there's just tables around. So it's almost kind of like a library area where there's, a bunch of stuff you can sit down. And obviously they don't need chairs, but
right.
There are, some scattered seating implements around.
So I think like he just like plops down on a table if it's low enough, and kind of just like puts the shotgun absently next to him on the table, and kind of like just has his head in his hands.
I'll say after that, Michael is, I guess, free of the paralysis. So he's been sitting there listening to the talk. So you're not frozen in place anymore. And Hugh's kind of still just standing there looking. He didn't have any effect. So Travis goes and sits down and puts his hands in his head.
I'll even say that Michael kind of just collapsed down onto the ground, just kind of sitting there, leaning back on his hands. So he's just kind of on the ground right now.
So the thing will look over to Michael and say, it seems like you have some knowledge of technology. You are what is called an engineer. The things we can give to you, the things you can work on, the things you can be a part of are limitless. We don't ask anything in return other than just collecting knowledge and sharing that knowledge with us. And then it'll look over to Hugh and say, your friend at the table was afflicted by the gathering we're doing. He's now cured. You did not seem to have any adverse effects of what we are doing. And to me, you're kind of a blank book. Your friend sitting down seems to have some knowledge of technology. Your other friend at the table, we have taken away his affliction from what we have caused. What knowledge or what questions would you have for me?
Why us?
It wouldn't be. So it doesn't shrug, right? Because it can't shrug because it's kind of a cone-shaped thing. But you kind of hear in its voice saying, this really wasn't planned. I guess you stumbled on to something and ended up doing research and investigation that led you here. None of this was planned. None of this necessarily involved you. There was no grander mission. Don't take that as a slight. It's a happy coincidence that you discovered us and we can offer you something in return.
But what if we don't want to do this?
That's your decision. We are not violent. We are not coercive. If you want to, our plan is not to hold you here. If you want to go, when you go back, if you want to go back to your time and place, we will make sure that will happen. But we're just offering you a chance to be involved in something monumental, something that will change the fate of the universe.
Hugh looks at that being and just says, I think we're going to need a moment.
That is absolutely fine. If there are any questions you have before I go, you can ask them. What we're doing in your time is collecting all the information we can. Your friend at the table was obviously affected by that. There are other people that are affected by that and will be affected by that. It is not a large amount of people. It is a minuscule amount of people, but there will be sacrifices that some will have to make. For the greater good of all, we need this information. For the greater good of humanity and what comes after humanity, we need this information. But you are free to make your own decision.
And I don't think Hugh has any more questions. John, you muted.
Muted.
Still muted.
I think if it walks away, like, and the door closes, the camera spins, and Hugh just kind of like Travis, sort of picks up his head and looks at the other two and says, "I don't like what does that all even entail? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what are we supposed to do?"
I think just gather information by the sounds of it.
From here, I mean, he said that guy was alive, or his soul was alive. He was dead.
I mean, I don't know though. I mean, there's clearly things going on that we don't understand. And yeah, as far as we know in terms of how our bodies work, yeah, it could have been dead. But I mean, the thing that just left, like, that's not us. I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know if it works the same way we do. So I talked when I was before here, like between the farm and here, I was somewhere else. And that guy, I talked to a guy who said that the farmer that we found that was dead, like giant air quotes, that was his son. And he said that he would be okay. And so he thinks that he's still alive. And then this thing thinks it's still alive too. So I don't know. I just what I know is that apparently there's a lot that we don't know.
he fucking pinches himself really hard, right? Like, because this is just it just can't be right. So he just grabs a hunk of flesh and just friggin' tweaks it. And then yelps.
Michael pinches himself much gentler than that.
And we're still here, and you guys are still kind of staring. And he's like, "Fuck." I don't like. I don't even like. How do we go back? Like, how do you go back from this? Like, the war was hard. I mean, it was hard enough to come back after the things that I'd seen and get back to some semblance of a normal life. This is ridiculous. I mean, this it's like a fairy tale. It's like a Flash Gordon episode. I have Flash Gordon in the 20s. I don't know.
I'll double check. Whatever radio play was science fiction.
Yeah. Insert radio name here. I mean, it just shouldn't be. Fuck.
Jules Verne, that's a good one, right?
Oh yeah. There you go. Yep. I mean, they didn't hurt us.
No, I mean they're offering us jobs basically. Like,
well, and that other thing on Earth, like, we don't know if it was gonna actually hurt us either. I mean, I know that's kind of weird saying that.
True.
We just kind of killed it.
Yeah, but it blew us down, and it was making that weird fucking noise.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore.
I mean, did you see?
It could have just been a side effect of what it was doing. I mean, if it's
but we don't.
Yeah,
He kind of points at the other thing that went out the door. You saw that thing, all right? I mean,
but thing said that those other things take over the earth. I mean,
yeah. But like, even though they say that they're nonviolent, do we just trust that? Oh, they brought us here. Oh, we come in peace. Like, that sounds like something I've heard in a radio drama before.
Damn it! I feel like I should have made an insight check when the thing was in here. I don't know. I mean,
But then again, I don't think I'd want to go against anything that's here because we're here. I don't want to get stuck here.
Like, Hugh gets up off the table and he, just like wanders over to one of the shelves.
You mean Travis?
Fuck. Travis gets up from the table and wanders.
Hugh was
over
Travis and Travis was Hugh. This is Fight Club, but
and then you hear a sound in your head, the same voice that was talking to you. Well, if Travis wants to be Hugh and Hugh can be Travis, we can accommodate you.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, he just looks to see like what's on the shelf. Like, is anything written in English? Is it like a book, but it's in a, like, I don't know, like he's just looking like he doesn't know what else to do. So like, he's just sort of taking it in, I guess.
Let's do it this way. So whatever you pull out, whatever you grab, you open it and it's like a metallic scroll, right? So it's a scroll, but it's like on thin metallic. It's like paper, but it's like metal. Yeah, exactly. And it looks like it's weird pictograms and designs, whatever. But after a second, it changes into English so you can read it. So what would be something that something from his past that he's read or something he was interested in? So maybe it was, oh, let's do this, right? So you were in World War I. That you didn't know that it was called that, right? So you pull out something that's called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shire, and from the flap copy, you read that it's a history of World War II in Germany from 1933 to 1945. So that's kind of what you see when you pull that out and start reading it.
I think he drops it, right? Like it shimmers and it's weird, and then he sees it and he sees the years, and I think he just drops it and it clatters to the floor. No. We did that already. Not again. I don't know. Not again. And he looks up forlornly at the other two, like, having gone through that experience, to know that happens again, with Germany again, like it fucks him up pretty good, right? Like we fought the war to end all wars, right? Like that was the.
So do Michael and Hugh go over and grab any of the metal tubes?
Yeah, sure. Why not? He's interested. He'll go over and start checking stuff out.
Okay. Does Hugh go over and do anything?
No.
Okay.
He was not interested in the least.
So Michael goes over and grabs a tube and starts looking at it. And what he starts reading is he starts reading about a company called IBM. And IBM has something that they call a supercomputer. And there's a couple initials next to it that says AI, and next to it says artificial intelligence, and it starts talking about something called Deep Blue that is used to go in chess tournaments with chess grandmasters, and goes on a TV show, something called a television show called Jeopardy, and goes up against different people in something called a game show. And it's just talking about this new technology from this company called IBM, of where they're creating this artificial intelligence that can help with weather and traffic and medical research and things like that. It's called Watson. It's originally called Deep Blue, but they end up naming it Watson. And it's a supercomputer that can calculate trillions of computations every second. And the uses that it can be used for government or business or NGOs or things like that.
All right.
Hugh
So yeah, I mean, I think he has like a suit between like Turing, like the Turing machine and like the difference engine and all that kind of stuff. Like and like there's transistors and everything like that. So he has like a super base level knowledge of what's going on, but like, so I think reading through, he can kind of piece together that this is like like probably according to him, like hundreds of years in the future, like technology that's going to exist. I mean, I picture like, you know, what, like in the 70s, like Star Trek and Star Wars, like the technology they thought would be in the future. And so like what he's reading now, he probably thinks is like 23rd century technology, like insane. So,
and then you see the date where, you know, that IBM was founded in the 30s and right, all that kind of stuff. And it builds up, and, you know, this stuff goes on in the early 2000s of all this computational power while you're reading that. So Hugh didn't go over and pull out. I was trying to think what, if Hugh went and grabbed the book, it would be probably like what, the electric Kool-Aid acid test, or Timothy Leary, the Summer of Love or something, right? It would be the chemical.
Men who stare at goats.
Yeah, LSD. It would be the chemical formula of LSD. So yeah, so Travis has seen that, you know, there's information about, you know, so obviously there are stuff that's happening. Both of you see stuff that's happening in the future about you know, things that happen or things that seem to be that are going to happen. Hugh's kind of nonplussed. He's probably still feeling good from the pill he took before, and is just in a weird place. I guess maybe on from the thing Travis pulled out, he'll also see that you know, that there was the book about, you know, the Second World War, what's called the Second World War, and maybe something in the past. You know, that metallic scroll he was looking at, there were, you know, discussions about Alexander the Great and all of his conquests of Egypt and moving through the Middle East and Persia and Asia. So there was almost like a travel log of Alexander the Great, and maybe Michael, on top of what he was reading about this company called IBM, there was things about Pythagoras, and I'm trying to think who came up with the water screw, the original Greek philosopher. Yeah, there you go, the Archimedes screw. So there's, you know, there's technology in the future you're reading about, but there's also technologies in the past. So there's the notes from Archimedes of Greek fire and the screw, and, you know, Travis is reading about these this World War II that happens in the future, but he's also reading about conquests in the past of, you know, Alexander, the greatest, you know, conqueror, you know, had the greatest land empire until Genghis Khan, things like that. So you're seeing the past and the future written down on there.
Does the thing come back, or are we just left to our own devices?
Well, you know, you can sit there and you're if you want to look through some stuff and do that. It did leave, but it will come back. Let's say you guys are in there for, you know, 30 minutes or an hour. Hugh seems to be a bit nonplussed about what's going on. Travis is kind of freaked out a bit. Michael's a bit intrigued. So let's say the thing comes back in and says, so you've seen what our mission is, what our goal is to catalog everything from the past, from the future. We're not here to make any ultimatums for you. Whatever choice you make, we will satisfy it you've helped us out by being someone or something that could help us in our quest for knowledge. But if you do not want to partake, that is nothing. That is no issue for us. You can go back to when you were, where you came from, or you can stay here and go be anything or anyone or anytime that you want.
I think Travis steps forward and he says, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do that again.
That would be, that is something that we can accommodate. We are open. We are inclusive is wrong. We I'm trying to think. Yeah, so you can stay here. You can stay in somewhere like this and expand your knowledge, or not. You can be something or someone else if you want. You can travel through time and history. You can be an observer to things that have happened in the past or things that could happen in the future. And it looks at you, or it says, you could just stay here and learn. It is your choice.
And he just kind of like silently steps forward and, kind of like has his head down, but, just kind of steps forward towards the being. I think it's probably... I was going to say it's probably an end shot, but I'll throw it in now in case I forget. As the camera sort of pans where the World War II book was, is the bottle of morphine in its spot.
So what would Travis want to do? Would he just want to stay here and just read and learn and chill and all that? Or would he want to be a part of something or be, see things or things like that?
I think he's so fucked up right now. Like, I think he doesn't want to go back. Like, he doesn't want to, like, he almost doesn't want to be, having glimpsed that knowledge of what was upcoming very shortly. Like, he just knows he doesn't want to go back and experience that again. So if that means just like living here, like it's whatever, and I'll figure it out later, I guess. Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was going to say, so if you were like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to see all the shit that happens. I want to, I want to be riding with Genghis Khan. I want to be,
I don't think
with the Crusaders, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just say, on Travis, it has him just sitting there contemplating, right? So he looks out, he's at a table, he sees this great big expanse in front of him. There's, right now it's the great sandy desert in Australia out in front of him. And let's just say, then it shifts to, an overgrown jungle landscape, and he sees all kinds of animals and birds flying around. And then it shifts to like an underwater thing where he sees, a bunch of whales swimming around. So it's just like a really chill contemplative thing, right? He's just all mellowed out and seeing, the different landscapes. And then another one is, traveling through the universe. He sees, planets and stars and things like that. So he's just kind of chilled out, seeing things. He's not going and reading books about what's going on. He's just, experiencing, the universe, while he's looking out.
Yeah. I think that.
Okay. So we'll go to Michael. So Michael, what are you thinking?
Oh, Michael is, he was very hesitant at first to say anything until Travis said something, which kind of reassured his decision. So he steps up too, and it's like, I want to stay too. And this is, how can I pass this up? This is all the resources that I'd ever need. This is information from the past and the future that can be used. Like, I have to stay. I have to. And this actually plays part. His life shaper is
he has invention as a goal. So like his whole thing is to come up with something new. So this is like feeding directly into that. So
let's say Michael does that, and then all of a sudden he feels himself kind of out of time, out of space. He's not with Hugh or Travis anymore. So, just some quick shots that come into his mind at the very beginning after he says that to the creature. He sees himself, he feels himself somewhere huddled over, striking flint against a rock, and, a fire starts to grow on some tinder. And then he's in a cave and there's chanting, and he has his hand up against the wall and he's blowing paint on his hand on the wall. He goes and, he sees, these big giant sandstone blocks being dragged up and laid, and, this building being built. Obviously I keep going like that. So a pyramid's being built, right? Then he goes and, he's somewhere where he's taking different kind of fluids and liquids, and he's mixing them together, and he's dropping, bricks of iron into them and trying to see what comes out of it. And then, so each step, Michael just has this flashing in his mind at every single advance of, science or knowledge he seems to be taking part in or observing, throughout history. So he sees all these different advances to where he's on a space station, and then there's interstellar travel and things like that. So, he sees that kind of flashing in. So whether he's the one doing it or this creature saying, you can do that, you can travel backwards and forwards to be involved in that, you have that feeling. So then Hugh's the only one left. Travis is chilling out, and Michael's traveling through space and time. So what does Hugh say?
Hugh looks at this thing in its eye or eyes or whatever and says,
eye stalks.
Yeah, exactly. and he says, I don't want any of this. My time is my time. I was thriving. I was living my dream. I don't need any of this.
So it will look at Michael, or not Michael. It will look at Hugh, and he does have eye stalks, right? Yeah. So one of the eye stalks will wink, and then right before Hugh feels himself moving, he sees this kind of wink, and then the thing will say, "Oops, wrong place." So then Hugh feels himself. When he rematerializes, he feels himself standing
torn
next to
in half as he goes to two different places.
So he's in a big city on a lake, and there's some wind blowing off the lake, and it's very cold. And when you look around, you see a cop car drive by, and it says Chicago PD. Would there be a cop car in the 20s? Anyway, so you're in Chicago, but you feel almost like Michael. You don't know if you're actually there doing it, or this is this would be you. So Hugh kind of feels his life going in front of him. So you're sent back to your time, but you're sent to a different place. So you're in Chicago, and you're working with a guy named Al Capone. So you were there, there's prohibition, there's lots of money to be made. Then you feel yourself realizing that this is going to go bad. All of a sudden, you flash yourself back to Pittsburgh, and then time moves on to the 40s. Then you feel yourself in Las Vegas, where there's all these things being built up of a flyover for troops going to California. But in this little town in Las Vegas, all these casinos are starting to be built up. So you start feeling that you are part of building this new industry, this new thing in the desert of casinos and resorts and things like that. And then after that, you flash to where you were in the late 50s in Cuba, still working for these casinos, and you're building up all these different resorts in Cuba in a tropical environment, and After that, you flash back to what would be the next thing after that, Cuba. You flash to New Jersey, and there's things being built up, and all of a sudden you see this big board with all these different sports with different numbers of pluses and minuses next to them, and you have a book where you're writing down what people are doing for college basketball and football and things like that. So Hugh gets plugged into first Prohibition, and then the building of Vegas, and then sports gambling and things like that. So Hugh ends up living a long, under the radar, getting away from the FBI life, where he's involved in in sports books and illicit gambling and the drug trade and prohibition before it's repealed. And then we fade out with Travis looking out on this landscape, and Michael traveling through space and time, and Hugh sitting in his room counting some money, watching Sports Center and seeing the scores.
He's an old man in a fucking chair with a little blanket on his lap.
Yeah, I was trying to not to pull everything exactly from Godfather 2 with, you know, the Hiram character, but it is kind of that same thing. Where
except for he's rationing out his pills and stuff like that, but he's also like, he's probably in a home and he's like, pulls out another thing of pills that's probably somebody else's, and he's rationing that out.
Making money any way you can, right?
Yep,
You got to do the
right.
hustle.
Some old guy comes in with a cane, and he's like, I got your stuff.
Yeah. So on one side, Hugh's doing the extra pills that everybody squirrels away, but he's also, whenever the Pennsylvania lottery draw or whatever, the Powerball, he's taking some side action on that also. And bingo. Any way you can rig the bingo, right?
Cool.
That is the end of your interaction with the great race of Yith.
That's what it was. Okay, I knew it was something like that. I was like, fuck, isn't that the Migo? I don't know.
So that's the thing about the Migo, right? Because the Migo are like the weird wasp looking things.
Yeah.
But then they also have the grays are what they use whenever they deal with humanity. And then they stick everybody's brains in jars.
Yeah. I knew what it was, but I couldn't remember what it was. No, it was cool. I dig it.
Cool.
That was
That's
nice.
very cool.
The polyp being like the false, I guess we're getting into post show, right?
Right.
Having the false, BBEG, and then being like, oh, nope, because I'm like, oh, he's going to hack up that body. Fuck, we're getting in so much trouble from the cops. And it's like, bink. Wait a minute. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
See, that's one of the ones where I've changed it, right? Because we talked about the last scenario we did was more of the slow burn Cthulhu kind of thing. So I thought throwing in the polyp, that was kind of, I said, okay, well, I'll throw that in. I didn't want it to kill you all kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think I gave it away when I said, yeah, it's already down to 1-0. How many zeros is it? But, so the original thing was to get through that. The only thing I changed was there was some different stuff where you talk to Nigel's dad separately, where you meet Nigel and go talk to him. But I changed that by putting the polyp in and then, moving it forward that way. So, a bit more action in it, because like we always say, Call of Cthulhu is more the investigation. When you do get into the action, you're either going to be you're going to win or you're dead, right? Because you've got guns and you're shooting these. It's not like D&D where, you get a second wind or anything. So, but this does let it do a bit more of, you guys did a bunch of good rolls. So, it did get you past that. So I wanted to make sure that no matter what happened with the polyp, that, you were going to go forward. If it got to the point where you guys were all getting ready to drop, I was going to have Nigel's body then transport you instead of you, hitting it and transport you kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
And it's funny. So this whole adventure kind of goes off what we were talking about after whenever the last time we talked, John, about kind of the arc of Cthulhu, of like these adventures of like the little psyche hits Like you have one towards the beginning and then one kind of in the middle. But then as you start to get closer to the end of the adventure, like those ticks start happening closer and closer together. And you get like the bell, like the what's it called?
Swoop of the curve.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happened in this one. Where you get like it's a little and it's like bloop, bloop, bloop. But then like as you get to the end, it's like psyche roll, psyche roll, psyche roll, psyche roll. And
you're either numb to it or then you completely snap. So, right?
Exactly.
Like, okay,
Exactly.
Yeah. So in 2 sessions, so in 4 to 5 hours of gameplay, I racked up 3 trauma symptoms.
Ditto. Yeah.
And we had a bunch of shock and a couple of different things happened. I ran away a bunch, backing away, freezing, lashing out. So like we hit the gamut. Like a lot of things happened. So again, like as in a playtest sense, even though we already know that it works, like it works, right? Like it does all.
And I think it was a good mechanic, right? Because if you were saying you're transitioning, we were saying comparing Cthulhu to COREthulu, I always really liked sanity mechanic in playing it, right? So this one translated really good. So you're not losing 5 in one go, or what is it, 10 in a whatever. So I think the way the trauma and the psyche rolls worked out really well. It's not like a million rolls, but it also wasn't any. So I think it worked out really, and I think it translated pretty good to what would have happened in the other one. So I think that worked out really well.
Yeah. The biggest hurdle, I guess, like we can role play and like you can make checks and like do all the things and it's fine. And the dice help to push the narrative and stuff. But it always, for me, just being type A, OCD, type O, whatever, when we get into the combat, it fucks me up. It's just, like even like, well, I'm going to run away. So how does that mean? Like if the polyp does this, like how does that compare then,
But I think the big thing that you raised clarified it for me, because we've talked separately. We've talked, on Discord with, when we were doing the other session about how to handle that. I think the real clear way you said it was, if everybody of all the actors are acting the same way. So if they're all attacking, then, highest roll wins kind of thing. If you're in the frame and someone's not doing, then so that clarified it for me. So yeah, you two are fighting that thing, but the third character is running away. So he just has to do his roll. So that clarified it for me. Then we don't have to do an opposed, and that makes perfect sense. So
yeah. And if, and it could be super easy, right? It's like, okay, well, he's, shooting and this guy is doing whatever. And like, you're running around the building. I will, beat a DL2 because you're just running away.
You're just running away. Yeah. Exactly.
And if you fail, well, you fall down, right? Like you're, it's almost like there's almost no need for a check, but it's like, well, we're playing a game. So like, give me a check, just make sure, just don't fuck it up. Right. Like,
don't trip and fall. And that was always the big thing from the few times that we've run it. That's always the thing that I've not got stuck on, but it was okay. Well, is it opposed? Who wins? Who goes first? So that you clarifying it, saying if everybody's attacking, then it is whoever gets the highest wins. If everybody's attacking and one character is hiding, then they just have to do a separate roll, and that makes perfect sense. So, yeah,
and it makes you think about like, sort of getting into that mindset makes you think about, all right, well, if it's just my die roll, if I'm not wearing armor, like I'm just a dude walking around, I should think about taking cover like a normal person would maybe think to do, because otherwise I'm going to get fucking shot, because it's just your die roll plus, armor, cover, whatever. So if you don't have those things, it's just whatever you roll, versus whatever the other person is doing.
Yeah, and I think that's always the big difference between playing a game like this and like D&D. Yeah, like you said, okay, well, my armor takes this much. I've got 5 potions, and I've got second wind. Yeah, it's like, no, we're playing like a noir game or like in the 20s. Yeah, I got shot. I'm going to freaking die. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice. So you said, well, what does a shotgun do? Like, what? It's just one. Like, everything is one. unless the dice give
and.
us something else, or even like,
and I like that.
Well, I got a no but. Well, the but is a positive thing, so it puts the bad guy or the monster or whatever in a disadvantageous position, or it puts me in an advantageous position, right? Like, and the ends and buts, as we've said before, don't necessarily have to relate to what's happening, but typically they relate to whatever's happening, because it's just easier to sort of build on that, with the narrative than be like, oh, and I win the lottery, and the package I was looking for arrives. Like,
and I think this system lends it to, it's being open enough where if you want to just say, yeah, I shot him and I shot him real good, so he got an extra damage. Or if you want to build out the narrative where you get really crunchy, where you're like, yeah, I have a Desert Eagle and I have an extra clip, and we're, we're 5 feet away from each other, and it's, compound damage because it's, you can do either or, because most systems are either like super crunchy where you have to have, space and blocks and all that, or just say, well, yeah, I shot him. If I get it, then I shot him in the head, and that's twice as much damage. So, you can do it either or. So.
Yeah. So that's my only sticky wicket, but I love it. I mean, it's super simple.
Yeah.
As a player, it's super simple. As a GM, it's a little, for me at least, I feel like it's a little bit trickier. And I know I apologize in our private chat, but I felt like in the beginning I was just like stomp, stomp, stomp. Let me tell you what's happening.
Well, no, and see, for stuff like that, I'm always happy when everybody pipes up, right? Because there's probably something I've missed, right? Because I've been sitting here, I haven't been sitting here all day, but I'm like, today I'm like, okay, well, what happens if we do this or that or that? Then I'm going to miss something, whether it is what's psyche versus the shock, stuff like that. So yeah. Trust me, I don't remember everything. So, and we're doing it. Hopefully people listening or watching it are like seeing how the system works, right? We're not just doing it where we're making that assumption of, okay, well, we're just rolling and not explaining it. So that's always cool with me, because there's always going to be something that I'm going to miss, right? Because, or even if I'm playing, okay, well, you add that plus because you have this or this or this, because I forgot, because I'm focusing on something else. I want to do a spell, but I forgot my multiplier, my advantage or whatever. If someone shouts that out, I'm glad they're shouting it out because I forgot it. So
yeah, it's easier for me to sort of have a feel for it because I'm not running it. So I can, kind of sit back a little bit and be like, oh,
if you miss something, exactly. Because if you're running it, you've got all that. Okay, well, I want to get them from here to here. Mm-hmm. What happens if they want to go over there? How am I going to get them back over? Then I'll forget that there's a +1 on something or whatever. So yeah, that's exactly making sure we do it the right way, or not the right way. That's, because it's supposed to be just having fun with it, but making sure we're not doing something that makes absolutely no sense. So.
Well, right. And that's the thing, right? So like you could run it however you want to run it, but there is like a rule set
framework. Yeah.
And we can break that, right? I mean, again, like, the way Todd runs it, like, especially for like day trippers, because it's, surreal sci-fi thing, you get real trippy and like real, heavy psychic content, like all that sort of stuff. Or you can do like an A to B to C investigation game. Or you can strip the investigation part out and just be like, everything around you is fucking weird. You're going to have to deal with weird because everything just like you can't get away from it, right? So like you could run it however you want.
Yeah.
But like you kind of want to have a starting block to go, okay, it works this way. But hey, guys, I think maybe, like when you hack D&D or, some other game, be like, hey, I'm thinking, I want to run it this way. Is everybody cool? Everybody's cool. Cool. Right, great. We run it that way then,
Yeah, as long as everybody knows what the guide rails are, then, you can't, as long as there is that framework around, and if everybody's happy with it, you just roll with it kind of thing. As long as you're not breaking the system just to do something. So,
yeah. You got anything, Kurt? I know you probably want to get out of here because
no, I really don't. Everything you guys have been saying is, I mean, it's all on point, and it's stuff that we've kind of talked before about, like the other COREthulu too.
Yeah,
it's just with you, John, with trying to get through like the fighting and stuff like that. I think eventually it'll work itself out. You just gotta keep working at it, and it seemed like anytime we had any kind of conflict, it worked out just fine.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really do it wrong, right? Air quotes.
No. Yeah, exactly.
As long as everybody's on board and we're doing the thing.
Well, yeah, as long as everybody's having fun and it doesn't sound
right.
it doesn't completely doesn't make any sense.
I think one of the big things with the combat in core is, all of us are used to we're all used to like D&D or D&D-esque, even in like Rogue Trader and basic Call of Cthulhu and everything like that. It's all still turn-based. So everybody has a turn in combat. There's initiative and everything like that. Core kind of harkens back more to the traditional like AD&D, like the base where like, okay, everybody announces their intent and you roll and everything's resolved. And so, that it kind of pushes more of that everything happens at the same time in terms of, everybody says what they're doing, you narrate this part, then you roll, then there's resolution to it. And it's different enough than what everybody's used to that it does take a lot of effort to get into and a lot of practice to really, not even just master, but just to begin to understand. So,
yeah, it's just.
I know when I ran the Monster Hunt ones, like that was my big. That like I still, even with the couple that we ran, was still that hadn't switched in my head yet. So,
yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like you said, it's just having some practice at it and like changing your mindset a little bit, because we so used to playing the other games that it's hard to just like flip that switch when you get into it and be like, oh, right. Intellectually I understand it, I know exactly what it is, I've read the books, I know what it is, and then we start doing it and I'm like, fuck, what is that again?
Yeah, well, you kick back to reflexes. It becomes innate at that point, and you go back to what you're used to. So
yeah, for sure. Cool. You want to jump, Kurt?
Yeah. I'm past my when I start looking off all the time, like you can tell it's just it has you guys, it's just like can't concentrate. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, we're sorry to keep you past your bedtime.
That's okay. I'm turning into a pumpkin.
Just gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Speak. Yep, exactly. All orange and everything. It's October. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Take it easy.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
Hey, Kurt.
No.
See ya.
Bye.
And just to mention back to what you were talking about, Kevin, as far as sort of showing people the rules, kind of like having the guts hanging out. When I edit the COREthulu games, I leave all of that meta conversation in, or a majority of it, just because it's a new system, because we're trying to suss things out. Yeah. So people do kind of get that behind the screen, behind the scenes sort of stuff. So if anybody like picks it up and runs it, it's like, oh, what the fuck? They can, watch us sort of go through it and sort of like hammer it out and be like, oh, it should be this, or I would do this or this, or you can run it this way or this way. And they just kind of have that as a, audio reference, I guess.
Yeah. They can listen to us fuck it up. And then they can listen to this conversation afterwards, how we talk about how we should have actually done it.
But it goes back to the thing, right? So if, whenever we were playing the Monster Hunt game, so, D&D, so we try to make sure combat moves a bit quicker. But when that's going on, so if John's doing something, I'm not 100% paying attention because I'm like, okay, what can I do? What's the actions I'm going to do? If I forget that I can then... because there's been a bunch of times where I'm like, oh shit, I have 2 attacks per round, stuff like that. So if someone calls that out, I want to make sure they call that out because I'm trying to think of, what's the narrative thing I can do? I'm not just going to swing my sword. I'm going to jump up here and do that. So I'm always happy if anybody calls out something that we miss or make sure we do it. Now, is it taking everybody out of the immersion? I don't think we're too worried about, well, hey, John, how would we do this or that? To me, that makes sense. It makes it go a bit better than if half-ass is the wrong word. But if you just try to go through and you miss something cool that could have been done, kind of thing. So it doesn't, it's a narrative game. Anytime you do role playing, it's narrative, but it's not a movie where there's not, there's director's commentary of, make sure you do this or that. So to me, that makes just perfect sense of, oh shit, don't forget that, or maybe do it this way, because then it just makes it better, because then we're doing it the right way. So, and then invariably you're going to forget something because you're thinking about something else when you're trying to do it. So,
right.
And while I understand and appreciate, granted it's not third edition where you got multiple attacks, the higher in level you did, but with different attack bonuses and all that kind of disgustingness. And so I appreciate like how they simplified everything in 5th edition, but core, what I like is that it brings that to a whole new level where like with say we were playing Earthfall in core, right? And you have 2 scimitars and you jump down into a group of bad guys. You don't have to think, okay, well, I have 2 attacks, but I'm also dual wielding, but I don't get my agility, but I don't get my dex bonus on the offhand attack.
Yeah.
And so I can make 3 attacks against these guys, but I can only do this much damage. It's basically like you jump into the middle, you make a roll, and you're like, I want to attack the guys around me in like a whirlwind fluid thing. And I'm like, cool, that works.
But see, I like listening to when people play Delta Green games, because it is kind of, I'm a sucker for any of the Cthulhu kind of stuff. But I'm like, okay, so there's the bonds, and then you lose this and lose that. And it is, okay, if you're going to shoot twice, the second shot's at disadvantage, the third shot's at, and people like the crunchy bit of it, which is fine, but then you just lose track of it. And it almost feels like you're trying to be an accountant, right? You've got your actuary table where you're listing everything down. Instead of just saying, I'm going to jump in and kick them in the balls and hit the other one in the face. If your roll is a positive one, then you do it. Not that you have disadvantage on the second one or 2 disadvantages on the third one. But that's just me. That's just that's the way I like to do it. There are people, like we said, that like to do the super crunchy stuff, and you can make this super crunchy. You can do it but it's just all narrative. It's not built into it. Just make the narrative crunchy kind of part of it. So,
yeah, for sure.
If somebody down the line wanted to make it crunchy, in theory they could. Like you could hack core to be like, okay, basic attack, you do it at whatever your bonus is, and then if you want a second attack, then it's at a -1, and a third attack is at a -3. And
well, so it's already
in
there.
Theory, you could do that kind of stuff. It would be really going against the grain of what core is.
No, it's already in there. There is a multi-attack, multi-action penalty. So if
true, yeah.
If I wanted to kick one guy and shoot the other guy, both actions are at a -2. Like that's already in the rules.
Yeah.
Because you only get like one thing, right? Because it's just one
action. That's actually if you want to attack and defend at the same time.
I think it's a multi-action. I don't think it's specifically to attack and
defend.
No,
because in the examples of combat, it talks about. Yeah, go ahead. Look.
Roll fight.
Let's see. Let's take a look.
Who finds it first?
So it says focus on doing something else.
Well, he's already got it up. Fuck, I'm still flipping the pages.
Yeah.
This makes for great radio.
It does.
I got to take my glasses off.
See, so you may choose to attack and defend simultaneously, but you still only roll once, and it counts as 2 simultaneous actions, -2 to both.
2 simultaneous actions, -2 to both. So you could run and shoot, you could punch and shoot, you could attack multiple people. Those would, by the definition, then both take a -2 because you're doing multiple actions.
I think that requires. I see where you're getting at. I see where you are. I think that might require further expounding upon.
Come on, John played 4E all those years. He knows what he's talking about.
You want to talk about crunch?
I guess it depends on what is considered an action.
So just not out of character, I guess that's the wrong way to say it. So now we know where Neil got the idea to play Traveler. John's been whispering in his ear because he wants that super uber, unbelievably crunchy stuff.
No, that was his thing. He was like, "Oh, I'm looking at this. I really kind of want to run it." And I was like, all right. I've never played it before.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. I mean, I've listened to when people play it, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's overall very easy to play. It's fun. If you like a narrative, like I think core in a lot of ways, and maybe it's not core specifically, but it certainly influences how we play all of our other games because it has so many player facing elements. We just sort of do that in all of our other games, adding elements, adding narrative stuff. It might not even be anything that changes the game necessarily, but, you just add flavor, add things that are sort of happening, like it just, we sort of embrace that style. And I think core like certainly pushes you in that direction to do that and embrace that.
And I think it's a good system for if you're running a bunch of stuff and this is one of the runs you're running, not saying that there's not that much prep time, but, how many different rule sets do you see there? It's like, okay, this is the 1-page one, or this is, pick it up and run it. It's not easier, but it takes less maybe prep and all that to just say, oh shit, do you guys want to play a game? Let's run this one because it's easy, 150 points spend, throw some characters in, boom, it's easier to pick up for a quick game, something like that, than it would be for if you're doing, a different system. So, this is, if you go look, lots of the systems that people write on their own are that quick turnaround. It's like, hey, we want to do a quick game, what's the best way to do it? Was it Cthulhu Dark or, all the other, the light systems that are out there, this fits right in, but that doesn't eliminate Christ, all the games you guys run. That doesn't eliminate the fact that you can run long scenarios with it also, so it works both ways, so that makes it really flexible. It's really cool that it could be we all get together. Do you want to do something tonight? Yeah, let's run this. Or I've got this idea for an overarching campaign, and you can run both of them. So,
it actually brings into, there was a discussion I was having on Twitter earlier that was talking about running different systems for different feels. So some person was like, hey, can I run a like Cthulhu-esque investigation game in D&D? And someone was like, well, if you want to run that kind of game, why not just run Cthulhu? Like run Call of Cthulhu. And he was like, I don't want to. And core having like the base allows you to transition in and out of different types of games. So like we could play this same characters, same like overall campaign, but we could play like this investigative type game. You can throw this kind of psychic traumatic mechanics into it. And then if you want to do like something else, like, not meaning to pimp my own stuff, but like if you want to do like a hunt type thing or like a journey, then you can pull those mechanics and you do this and this, and it's you're not having to tweak or retrofit anything from a different system, because it all uses the same universal mechanic.
Yeah, you're not dragons and swords versus 1920s noir. You can do, you don't need a different system to do that. You can do any of it. So
exactly. Like I could do like a Cthulhu type investigation in using D&D 5e, using the Call of Cthulhu mechanics, but I'd have to take it, and then that's a D100 system, so I'd have to try to scale it down and twist it and convert the math and everything like that. And it's possible, but it takes a lot of work.
And the GM's got to do all that work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like for COREthulu, like you could run just a like a slasher movie horror or a zombie horror by, like I was saying earlier, you take out the investigative element, you surround the players with the weirdness, the horror, the whatever, because you can't get away from it. If it's a teen sex romp horror thing and you're in the haunted house and there's, Jason Voorhees, you can't really get away from it. Like everywhere you go, it's there. So you can, pull the trauma out of COREthulu and just use the shock, because that would be appropriate for that. Or you could just use Core Micro to run it and not worry about that. And maybe, you'd make just, a psyche check as a psyche check, or even a health check, or maybe you're making grace checks to run away, without having, a shock, mechanics.
Well, I mean,
and still do it,
I mean, I think the shock would actually work really well in a situation like that, though, because how like there's always the frozen in place aspect, right? Like, there's always that person that like Jason comes around the corner and they just stand there and scream, and then they get stabbed in the chest. Like,
no,
perfect.
I think it's perfect,
right?
I mean, but I wrote it, so like I can say that. But you don't need to do that. Like you could just take Core and run.
Oh, absolutely.
Without that mechanic, it would be a little bit different. I think the shock table certainly works for that. But you could also, you could do aliens. You could run a Western. Kurt and I, for the MFG cast, are going to be running a noir style game, and we're thinking about making a skin for it. And then it's like, okay, well, what mechanics can we add to a noir specific setting that lend itself to that feel? Because we could just take Core Micro and run it, which is what we're going to do. And, try to back hack it as we're playing to see, like, does this need a skin? What interesting things could we add mechanically? Or, maybe it's like, well, fuck, there isn't, like, we can't come up with anything. You could just run it. If you wanted to do a Western, you could come up with a whole mechanic for duels, for, roping and whatever. Like you can come up with specific things, but you don't need to. You could run a Western with Core Micro without having a specific duel mechanic, but you could also skin it and add that and, bring more things into the Core world. So you could run an Aliens game using the Core Western dual mechanic to, you know what I mean? Like it's all just mix and matchable. Like you said, there's no scaling, there's no changing the numbers or whatever. You're just like, oh, I think this is cool. I'm going to use this in this game because it's all the same thing.
Right. By the way, anybody listening, I think two holes that greatly need to be filled right now are Westerns and superheroes.
Oh, superheroes too,
if anybody wants to make something.
Yeah, I mean, it's open for everybody to skin it, and it's pretty easy. I don't ever finish anything, and I did it. So if I did it, anybody could do it. For sure. All right, have we beat this to death? Should we sign out?
I think we have.
All right, so I'll probably chop this and then throw it at the end, and I might actually release the post show as a separate episode, but like during the same week, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for checking it out. We have coffee for sale still. It's a nice, easy drinking medium roast. It's the Legendary Brew. A little bit of the money comes back to the show, helps pay for the SoundCloud and the things and whatever. It's roasted fresh. It's roasted by our own GM Neil. I mean, he hasn't run anything for a while, but he's still our own. We still love him.
He's our own. He doesn't run for anybody else.
You're right. Yeah, it's roasted fresh. So you put in an order, it'll get roasted and sent out to you fresh as can be. If you use the code LEGENDS10, you're going to get 10% off your order, and shipping is always free. I have just opened up my second bag, so I'm going to have to put in an order, if not this week, next week, so I make sure I don't run out again. We have a Patreon up. If you want to throw some shekels, some sesterces, some dollars our way, that's fantastic. If not, I mean, we're going to record anyway, but it's helpful. We appreciate it if that's something that you want to do. What do we have? Anything else? Ratings, reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Super helpful. Just bumps up in the algorithms. You know the whole deal. Yeah, you give us a spiel all the time. But again, thank you for checking it out. And
hey, wait! If you're interested in Core, head to the Discord. Head over to Reddit at r/CoreRPG. You can head over to the Facebook. You can head over to Todd's Patreon. You can get all the information over there.
Yep. And now, because we have so many products for Core, you can search Core as a system on DriveThru RPG. So even if you know you want to get Monster Hunt or the WWA or COREthulu or Day Trippers, search for it, because I'm sure that's got to help in the algorithms for that if people are searching specifically for Core products. So do those things. Links in the show notes. Thanks, everybody. Catch you next time.